I guess it's my job to calm everybody down tonight. That's fine. It's what I've signed up for. It's one of my hosting duties here on 1210 WPHT. Welcome back, everyone, to another edition of the Matt Rooney Show, except no flimsy made-in-China substitutes. This is the real deal here in our great station on the banks of the mighty Schuylkill. For the next 3 hours, I don't know how it's humanly possible to cram more into 3 hours of broadcast. I'm not sure we're going to be able to do it, and I have supreme confidence in myself. I have almost as much confidence in producer Andrew here. But we're going to try. We're going to do our darndest.
Oh, yeah.
And you came in ready to play tonight.
Absolutely.
You've got that eye of the tiger.
Yeah. Well, after being away for a couple of weeks, it's good to be back. I'm excited. And we got a heck of a show coming up, too, so that's good.
We do, and I did it for you.
I appreciate it. And I kind of got that sentiment of, I feel like Matt's really kind of excited to have me back, so let's get some really, really cool people in here.
That's exactly right. The thousands of people that listen to this show, nothing to do with them. Sorry. It's all about you.
My great thanks, sir. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Oh, yeah.
You're welcome, and I say that without qualification. Let's get the preliminary stuff out of the way, and then I'm going to explain why I guess I need to calm some people down tonight. 855-839-1210 is the number here at the station if you wish to call in and participate if you've got something worthy. I say it every week. This time around, this Sunday, more true than ever. I make no promises as to whether I'm going to get to you tonight, but if it's really solid, then Andrew will make some gestures at me behind this glass, which he sits, and say, hey, listen, that person's really got something to say, and I may take mercy upon you and pluck you off the phone line. So 855-839-1210. You can also watch the show as well as listen and confirm that I am indeed as handsome as I sound over on our YouTube page, which just went live, youtube.com/@1210WPHT. You can watch, you can participate in the comments, which often get a little salty, regularly silly. It depends on the week and who's there, right? It's like your favorite neighborhood bar you roll in. Sometimes the crowd's decent. Sometimes it's still a lot of fun, but you feel a little weird on the way out the door. That's the YouTube comments section over here on the 1210 channel.
There's a lot of good stuff.
There's a lot of good stuff.
Yeah.
Yes.
I remember a few weeks ago we had the woman from Latvia. I don't even know if she was from Latvia, but she posted the Latvian flag, or Latvian.
That's all it takes to validate yourself online.
Yeah.
That's all the verification we require.
Because everything on the internet is true.
If you put an emoji, it's as good as stamping your passport.
It is 2024.
It is 2024. Be what you want to be, right? If you didn't believe me before, just check out the Olympics opening ceremony and whatever that Last Supper presentation was. The trans supper, and there was a kid there, and there was a fat woman holding a bowl, and then there was that dude with the beard and a dress.
It's France. It's Paris.
I've never been in that bar.
Nope.
It is, and that's the explanation I got from some people.
Yeah.
We're going off track now, but we regularly do that on the program. We just have to suffer it. So I heard someone say, look, maybe there is some young boy or young girl watching this thing from a totalitarian country, and they see this wacky spectacle unfolding on their television, probably an old television.
Probably.
Color's kind of crappy, because, again, we're talking about China or someplace down in South America. And they say to themselves, wow, freedom is really something else. Isn't this interesting? I disagree with that for a reason that I think is going to be obvious to our listenership, not just because of who they are, but because they know this show and they know my worldview. I think that there's going to be just as many people that say, well, this is the end point of freedom. This is what people do with it. This isn't freedom. This is license. This is sick. It's weird. It's uncomfortable. There's nothing attractive about it.
Like I said, it's France. It's Paris. And it is 2024.
It's 2024.
Well, the thing I was thinking about, and my wife and I were talking about, my wife, she's not that big into sports. She's not that big into watching that kind of stuff. But, the Olympics are the Olympics, and it is a big event. I loved watching the Olympics as a kid, and I still love watching the events and different countries participate. But I was thinking back, the first time I ever remember watching the Olympics was the 2002 Winter Olympics in Salt Lake City.
Ah.
And I was
The ones that Mitt Romney saved.
yeah. No controversy involved in that process.
None whatsoever.
Anyway,
None whatsoever.
no, and so, but the thing that I remember was I was 100 and it was right after, like, 9/11 was just a few months before. Everybody was patriotic. Everybody was go USA go and all that stuff, and everything about it was fun. And my mom and dad didn't have to be afraid of what was going to pop up on the TV during the opening ceremony.
You nailed it.
And that's the problem with every single thing that's going to be on TV now.
Where are we when the Olympics needs to be accompanied by a not safe for work, or, hey, listen, your children may be tuning in innocently to see LeBron James waving the American flag or some of the greatest athletes in the world, and there's some guy dressed in blue paint with his twig and berries hanging out on international television.
What is the world coming to?
What is the world coming to? And so that's your truly stake, right? I mean, I understand the argument about liberty, but I think there are just as many, if not more, people around the world that are going to say, you know what, is this what the West has become? Is this where it's going? I don't know if I find this attractive. Now, of course, don't get your own panties twisted, right? Whether you're painted blue or not. I am in no way suggesting I'd rather live in China or China, as the former and next president of the United States would say. China. I'm simply stating that one of the reasons why our civilization's been so successful is because it's so marketable. People want to be us. They want to have our stuff. There's a reason why when the GIs were going into villages, what did they come armed with? Chocolate bars, right? That's something we've always had over our enemies. We can't lose that. If we no longer have a product that is marketable, we're going to lose. And that's what I'm taking away from the Olympics. It wasn't just the rain that was dreary and a little depressing. It's it's the reflection I'm seeing in the mirror when we here in the West look and see what we're becoming. But the fight is still on, folks. It's we're kind of got like a standing count here. Right? But we still have plenty of fight left in us. I know you do, and I know that I do. And we're going to prove that over the course of the next 3 hours, if you don't believe it. Tremendous guest tonight, as Andrew alluded to. We'll be joined here in about 20 minutes by the one, the only Nancy Mace, Congresswoman from South Carolina. I am very excited about this. She had quite a week last week, most famously by, I think, ending the career of now former Secret Service Director Cheadle. I think she's the reason more than any other that Kimberly Cheadle does not have a job. Not only because Nancy Mace said what we were all thinking, and unfortunately I had to bleep it because of that no good, not fun FCC that makes it so that we can't say fun things on the air, right? Look what they can do at the Olympics. Look what they just showed on NBC.
I know.
I guess if I paint myself blue and come in here with a loincloth on, that's okay?
If you paint the words blue.
Right, well, there you go.
That's fine.
What are the rules of this thing? That's all I want to know. I want to know what the rules are. But she said what we were all thinking, and by getting the director of the Secret Service to admit and say, yes, it was a colossal failure, that agency's failure to prevent an assassination attempt on our president, one which almost killed President Trump. More than any other, I think that's what ended Cheadle's career, and thank God for it. I'm not sure whoever's replacing her is going to do that much of a better job, but we know that President Trump and all of our other elected officials were not in safe hands with her at the helm. So we're going to ask Congresswoman Mace about that and try to squeeze in a few other topics, too. Maybe we can ask her about J.D. Vance and cat ladies, because I saw she weighed in on that as well, because that's where we're going in 2024. Back to your theme, Andrew. It's 2024. I'm talking about cat ladies on Sunday night.
Yeah. And
I got to tell you, J.D. Vance's opinion, and I am in no way taking credit for this because J.D. Vance has no idea who I am. I have been saying this forever.
Not yet. Let's be optimistic about it.
He probably is tuned in going through Philadelphia and been like,
I just said let's be optimistic.
Turns on an audio book of Hillbilly Elegy or something like that. Look, he's right. And I've been saying this forever. And it shouldn't be complicated. And the reason I said I need to calm everybody down tonight is because everybody's freaking out about the polls. Everyone's freaking out about the polls. And I will tell you and we'll get more into this evening, why Kamala Harris is experiencing a little bit of a surge. It's pretty simple. It's twofold. And I warned you about this on last week's show. First and foremost, the deep state, the media apparatus, the syndicate, which attempts to not only drive but control opinion in this country, was turned off for Joe Biden. At the end, they were actively working against him because they didn't think he could beat Donald Trump, which is all they care about, advancing leftism, defeating Donald Trump. Now they're back working in unison in full force. So that was naturally going to help out Kamala Harris a little bit. So that's some of what you're seeing out there. You also have leftists across the country, including right here in the Delaware Valley where we're based, even though I know many of you are listening beyond that, who now have a candidate which checks the boxes that they've been brainwashed by their professors, by the media, by the people in their lives to embrace and accept as their idea of what America should be. Right? Here's this successful woman of color. I've heard that term 650 times over the course of the last week. I still don't know what a woman of color is. And I've always thought that's one of the dumbest phrases on the planet because technically we're all a color, right? I mean, the absence of light is a black hole. None of us are, everyone has a shade. So it's just a stupid term. It's like when people say the working class. Well,
Right.
unless you're a trust fund kid or you're retired, everybody's working, right? I don't like that term either, even though I know what we're talking about. But she is this woman of color, and therefore, in order to smash the patriarchy, she is the archetype of what we need. I know some of these women in my own life who had trouble getting excited about Joe Biden because even though we had the right ideas, right? Killing your child up until the moment of birth and taxing the bejesus out of those evil rich people, et cetera, and so on, was pro-Ukraine, go Ukraine flag emoji. He was still part of the patriarchy, right? So now they have someone that they can feel confident in. They were a little embarrassed to support Joe Biden because it was so obvious at the end that he had no business being anywhere near the levers of power. Forget about the White House and the federal government. Joe Biden could run a lemonade stand at this point. I don't think he knows what lemonade is. I don't know what he would try to do with a lemon. I probably wouldn't want to see it because the guy is that far gone. He'd probably try to eat it with the rind and everything.
He might squeeze the juice into his eyes and then not really react to it.
It's entirely possible.
Just saying.
That's where we're at with Joe Biden.
Just saying.
So those folks, and some of them are quote unquote cat ladies, they're starting to come home. Now, what is a cat lady? Let's walk through what J.D. Vance was trying to say here. And we've got some audio about this later in the program. He's not talking about a widow, right, that has some pets and lives alone. He's not talking about someone that can't have kids. That's clearly not what he's referring to. He's talking about a exploding generation of young women. And by the way, there's some men that fit in this category too, who are making a decision to not advance the human race. That we are going to not have kids and we are going to live for ourselves. We're going to work and we are going to play and we're going to post online and refer to ourselves as cat moms or dog parents. And we're going to spend $10,000 on a surgery to help the pit bull we adopted live an extra 2 years, but exhibit no cause or concern for the next generation. If you don't believe that those decisions have some impact on how people vote and which policy positions they support, then you're willfully stupid. You're trying to be dumb. It's obvious. It's absolutely obvious. And I tried to find the poll, Andrew, tonight before I came in. But as we've said, we've got such a busy stack tonight. I just couldn't find it, right? I put it under the wrong book on my desk.
That's okay.
You'll forgive me?
100% forgive.
You're a generous soul, my friend.
I try.
Here's the gist of this poll that I saw. And if somebody saw it, share it in the chat, youtube.com/@1210WPHT, or one of my operative friends will text it to me during the show. Single men were going for Trump in this poll, about 52%. Versus Kamala. Married men go for Donald Trump by about 58%. Large majority. Married women go for Trump with about 52%. Single women, nearly 70% for Kamala Harris. I am not saying you are evil because you chose not to have children and prefer to live your life with a lint roller in every bag you own because you're constantly trying to get cat hair out of everything. I'm not saying that makes you a bad person. I am saying, as J.D. Vance says, that if that's an attitude that everyone has, I'm not sure where Western civilization goes from here, because babies don't grow on trees, right? It's unfortunately a lot harder to have them than it is to abort them. That's Kamala Harris's America, right? But we need young men and young women, and yes, they only come in two varieties when they pop on out. I've seen it happen twice, TMI. Okay, Andrew, I know you've been there for a couple, right?
I got two of my own.
That's how it works, right? And we need them to further our civilization. And we need to not live for ourselves. My father gave me this advice a long time ago. I don't always follow it, but I think it's the best advice I ever got. The key to happiness is to not constantly live for yourself. You should be thinking of other people, right? The easiest thing to focus on is your spouse and your children. That's one of the reasons why you see these studies about married men living longer. Why? Because you're not self-obsessing all the time, which is not healthy. So there's a lot of truth in what J.D. Vance is saying, but they haven't been able to land a punch on Trump up until this point in the cycle. So now they are going to dig up everything that this very bright young man, and I'm emphasizing young because he's my age, so I want to make sure that we categorize 39 as being very young. He's practically a baby, Andrew.
Well, compared to the two people that he's not running for office anymore, and the gentleman who was in office before, but and most likely going to be in office again, yes, he's a baby.
He's a baby. Yeah. Absolutely. So they're gonna try to drag him through the mud, and they're gonna try to make him an anchor.
Yeah. And
that's wrapped around Donald Trump's leg, and we can't fall for it. We can't let him do it.
Well, and it's the crazy thing. You see, and the thing is, that side of the political aisle, you see so many times, especially now, they're running out of material because they're repeating the same thing over and over. Every single time President Trump picked a Supreme Court justice and went through the Senate hearings and all that stuff, confirmation and everything like that, they did the exact same thing. They did it to Brett Kavanaugh.
Yeah.
They did it to the other justices that he chose, and now he's, they're doing it to the same, to his VP pick. So the crazy thing is they're repeating the same patterns over and over. And I was talking to somebody about this the other day. It's getting a little bit too obvious what they're doing because they're repeating the same thing over and over, and it's becoming a little bit too much of a mistake looking, I'll put it that way, because it's getting too difficult to hide what they're trying to do.
That's exactly right. That is exactly right. They cannot defend their positions. I mentioned abortion for a minute ago.
Yeah.
One of the things they're attacking J.D. Vance on is abortion. We know that is one of the left's favorite issues.
And he's a man, so,
he's a man.
He's not allowed to have an opinion about certain things. According to the left, you're not allowed to have certain opinions if you qualify as something.
Even though the left simultaneously believes that a man can have a baby, a man is still not allowed to have an opinion about abortion.
You see where we're going with this?
Try to figure this one out. Yeah. Right? Try to figure this one out. But they're going to try to attack him on this. Donald Trump has started to attack this the right way. Why are we defending ourselves when they're the ones that want to kill a fully formed 39-week and 6-day baby? That the only thing that separates that child from this world is an extremely thin uterine lining. Why are we the ones that are weathering charges of being extreme, and we're supposed to come up with excuses for ourselves? I refuse to. And that's one of the reasons why many of us, and I put myself in this category, I was not an enthusiastic Donald Trump supporter in the 2016 primaries. I voted for him in the 2016 election, but I had to work myself up to it. It was made easier by the fact that Hillary Clinton is a demon from the lowest level of hell, right? That helped. But I had to work myself up to it. But part of the reason we've all come around to this guy, and many of us have come to revere him, respect him, count on him, is because he's created a plane where we no longer have to apologize for ourselves, our families, our communities, defending our country, defending our values. We're not going to do it anymore. Haven't done it for a long time on this station. I don't do it over my website, SaveJersey.com. It ain't going to happen tonight. Ain't going to happen in 2024. There's that year again. It's a pivotal year. And I promise you, this program is going to practice what we preach now through November. And if we all do, I don't want you to freak out about these polls. I started out tonight saying I guess I'm going to have to calm you down. When we come back a little later this hour, I'm going to walk you through some of the latest polling, and I'm going to explain to you why you need to be working hard and keep your head on a swivel, but you shouldn't be panicking. That shouldn't be your reaction to any of this. You should not be panicking. They want you to panic. They want you to despair. They want you to think that they've pulled off this amazing genius switcheroo and that now there is no hope for tomorrow for Republicans. Not the case. This is the same administration running on the same record. And if we do what we're supposed to do, and if President Trump and his campaign and their team stay on message, we can win this one. I am thoroughly convinced of it. Good morning again, by the way. Good afternoon, happy evening, whatever it is to everybody over in the chat, regardless of what time you're consuming the Matt Rooney Show. I see Elle. I see Suze Loves Jeffy. Mango Mush is there. What is Elle saying? I'm a 45-year-old widower, no kids, never wanted kids, have no pets. I have some big Trump-supporting women friends who have been turned off by J.D. Vance's comments, ignorant on his part. Did they understand what he said, though? I mean, you heard my explanation. And I think we could play it later on tonight. I think J.D. Vance gave his own explanation. He's not saying that you're evil because you're single and you have a cat. That's clearly not what he was saying. He's making the point that I did, that our elections are values elections, right? You're voting your values. That's what you're doing. And Republicans only recently understood this. And certain life decisions affect your values. That poll I just showed you, it's science, folks. The numbers speak for themselves. 855-839-1210 is the number. I am Matt Rooney. This is the Matt Rooney Show on 1210 WPHT. Quick break. We'll be back with Nancy Mace and a whole heck of a lot more in just a moment.
Don't miss the Labor and Energy Show with J-Doc and Krause, brought to you by Advocacy United, this Saturday night at 6. Find out about the important issues that'll affect you. The Labor and Energy Show, Saturday night at 6 on Talk Radio 1210 WPHT.
Pastor Brad Lacey here, First Baptist Church, Conshohocken. Join us Saturdays for the great message and be blessed. 5 a.m. right here on Talk Radio 1210 WPHT.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm. If you own a timeshare, don't miss this public service announcement from Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group.
If you receive an unsolicited phone call or mail piece to discuss selling, renting, or especially canceling your timeshare, don't fall for it. If you really want out of your timeshare, hang the phone up immediately or throw that mail piece in the trash and contact your timeshare resort or Wesley Financial Group for assistance with your timeshare. As the only Inc. 500 timeshare cancellation company, our knowledge, experience, and results has made Wesley a trusted resource for over 40,000 families we've helped get out of their timeshare. Give us a call, and I'll send you our timeshare exit information kit free with the straight facts about your timeshare and all of your options for cancellation.
Call for your free info kit, 800-329-2121. 800-329-2121. 800-329-2121.
Hi, it's Nick Kale. The first Wednesday of the month, we shine a spotlight on one outstanding local veteran on our Veteran Spotlight in partnership with the Travis Manion Foundation, celebrating their remarkable commitment to community service and their exceptional service in the military. Wednesday, August 7th, we honor Air Force veteran Kathy Christian for her service and contributions to the veteran community. Presented by Window Nation. For all of your window and door needs, visit windownation.com.
You can host the best backyard barbecue. You find a professional on Angie to make your backyard the best around. Connect with skilled professionals to get all your home projects done well. Inside to outside, repairs to renovations. Get started on the Angie app or visit Angie.com today. You can do this when you Angie that.
When you need them, your local volunteer fire department routinely answers the call. Whether it be a fire, traffic accident, or a cat stuck in a tree, there is always someone there for you. However, because of declines in memberships, departments are becoming understaffed and struggling. Here's how you can help your neighbors and your community. No matter what skills you may possess, you can make a difference. Your local volunteer fire department desperately needs your help. Can you direct traffic, install a smoke alarm, help at fundraisers? Your community needs you. You don't have to fight fire to be a volunteer. Will you make that difference? Will you answer the call? Brought to you by the National Volunteer Firefighter Recruitment Center, a program service of the Volunteer Firefighter Alliance. For more information on how you can help and make a difference, visit www.nvfrc.org. That's www.nvfrc.org.
In Africa, 5-year-old Chiru has no choice. She and millions like her must walk miles every day for dirty water. But together, we can end their walk by providing clean water close by. Instead of spending hours walking to get water that makes them sick, girls can be in a classroom that expands their minds, and moms will gain back time to care for their families. Sons and daughters can grow up strong, finally free of sicknesses caused by dirty water. At World Vision, care about clean water runs deep. Deep enough to reach one new person with clean water every 10 seconds. Because every child, every person, everywhere deserves clean water and a chance to rise to their full potential. It's true. When you just add water, you change a life. Learn more at worldvision.org.
What's one of your favorite memories?
That's a tough question. Well, there was this one time I went camping with my parents in a forest back when I was maybe like 8 or 9. And I can remember one night we were laying out in our hammocks and we were just, watching the trees rustling in the wind above us, and we could hear the sounds of the forest all around us. Frogs singing and owls calling and the creek running nearby. It was amazing. It felt like we were a part of it all. I don't know if I do it justice trying to describe it, but I'll definitely never forget it.
Most of us have a memory of being in nature we'll never forget. Let's protect the world's natural places so more memories can be made for generations to come. Visit worldwildlife.org.
Be sure to follow Talk Radio 1210 WPHT on the free Odyssey app. Download it now.
Welcome back to the Matt Rooney Show, 855-839-1210. It is my privilege and honor to introduce our first guest of the evening, folks. She represents South Carolina's 1st Congressional District. Beautiful country down there, low country along the coast of South Carolina. She made history, the first woman to graduate from the Citadel. Incredible accomplishment. She is an accomplished author, but what she really excels at, and I think this is what most of you know her for, is making leftists' heads explode down on Capitol Hill. If there is a more worthy calling, I don't know what it is. Welcome to 1210 WPHT and the Matt Rooney Show, Congresswoman Nancy Mace. Congresswoman, thanks so much for joining us tonight.
Good evening. Thanks for having me tonight.
It is our pleasure. As I said, you had quite a week. That hearing. The only bad thing I could say about it is we can't play what you said on an FCC-regulated station. But you really did
sound like my father.
Oh, my God, Andrew. I sound like your dad. I'm done now. I'm done. But really, you said what we were all thinking. And someone needed to say it. Here's my question for you. I want to cut to the chase. You lived through that hearing. I don't know how you folks do it sometime. You also undoubtedly saw what Christopher Wray had to say on Capitol Hill, the FBI director. Do you have any confidence that we're ever going to get an honest investigation from this administration into what happened to our president?
No, I don't. Not from these federal agencies, not from this administration, not from anyone. Clearly, 10 shots were fired, 8 from crooks. We know that Donald Trump within a centimeter, if he had turned his head anymore, he would be dead man walking. And I just, these people are incredulous and they are deceitful, they are dishonest, and they dodge and they lie. It is a culture of failure in the Biden administration. And people are so fed up with it, which is why I think that clip where I cursed last week went viral, because people are just fed up with it. I was simply saying aloud what every single person in the country and around the world who was watching was thinking. It's insane to me. Just be honest and tell the truth, and these people can't do it.
And I get the sense that your Democrat colleagues were, at least initially, trying to shore up Cheadle. But then when you got her to admit, and that was excellent lawyering there, yes or no, was it a Colossus failure? And she had to say yes. I don't think they had any choice at that point but to call for her resignation.
No, you couldn't move forward. And if she wasn't going to get fired, we needed to force her resignation. And that night, at the end of the night, I filed a privilege motion that would have forced a vote of Congress on her impeachment within 48 hours. And 12 hours after I filed that motion, she was out. You just cannot. I mean, she was so brazen, so defiant. She basically gave a middle finger to middle America. And then we learned this weekend, because all the information we're getting are from the local law enforcement. We're not getting anything from the feds. And the local guys are like, look, we had no comms. We had no communication with the Secret Service until after Trump had been shot.
It is a remarkable story.
This is not Keystone Cops here. This is the Secret Service of the United States of America. What is going on?
And you're referring to this story. I saw it on ABC. There were a bunch of local SWAT team members from Butler, Pennsylvania. They were supposed to have a meeting with the Secret Service, never got that meeting. These poor guys have a look on their face. They just look completely distraught about this, because I'm sure they wanted to do their job just the same as most law enforcement do. I have to ask you this, Congresswoman, and I promise you I don't have any tinfoil here in the studio. We continue to get these disturbing reports about what happened. I usually like to assume incompetence before conspiracy. Are you concerned, as a Congresswoman, based upon what you're hearing, that there could be more to this story, that there could be, for example, another shooter involved? And again, we have an FBI that doesn't seem equipped to get to the bottom of it.
Yeah, I'm not going to dabble in conspiracy theory. It's hard to say, but I do think there is a conspiracy in the cover-up. I mean, if there was ever to be a conspiracy right now that I think we could probably prove faster than anything else, is that they didn't provide Cheadle any of the information, so in anticipation of her testifying before Congress. So she could not answer our questions. I think they're conspiring to cover up what happened because of their incompetence. That's what I think is going on. But again, we're not going to know until we get to the bottom of it. And thank God for our local law enforcement who are willing to quite freely, both in the press and with senators and members of Congress, tell us what's going on. I mean, it was Senator Grassley and Senator Johnson, with the help of local law enforcement, that put together the timeline, which was my last question of Cheadle, was how long between the first picture that they had of Crooks and the first bullet that came out of his AR-15, that .223 round, how many minutes? It was 57 minutes. And these are things that she should have known and either couldn't or wouldn't answer the question. So she was lying and perjuring herself, or they didn't tell her anything so that she couldn't testify before Congress, which to me, that spells cover-up. I don't know how else to explain it.
None of the answers are flattering, right, regardless of what they may be. Shifting gears for a second, we were talking earlier in the program tonight about these J.D. Vance comments that they've dredged up, because we know they can't land a punch on President Trump, so now they're going to pick on J.D. Vance. They brought up this cat lady thing. Even over in our comments section on 1210 WPHT, people have mixed feelings about it. I get what he was trying to say, and I saw that you defended him. Why is J.D. Vance not crazy, or at least what is the appropriate context that Pennsylvania voters should apply to this situation?
Well, number one, they're pulling a lot of these quotes out of context, and I really wish they'd get the scrutiny of what Kamala Harris has said over the years they're given to J.D. Vance, because that woman is a leftist lunatic liberal from San Francisco. She ran to the left of Bernie Sanders when she ran for president, didn't even make it to Iowa. She's now being elected as the nominee by the mainstream media. Democrats in Pennsylvania didn't even get a chance to vote on her being their nominee. So when you talk about an assault on democracy and attacking democracy, it's the left and the elites within the Democrat Party who are coordinating a nominee that no Democrat or independent ever voted for to nominate in Pennsylvania. And it is ridiculous. This is not democracy. This is not how it's supposed to work. And if you actually look at her record, she is to the left of a Bernie bro, which is crazy to me. And they are trying to wash the internet. They're trying to erase things that she said online. They are saying that, well, she was never, quote unquote, border czar. Yet we literally have tape of Joe Biden saying she was in charge of the border. She was in charge of Mexico and the Northern Triangle where the mass of illegal immigrants are coming through. These people have lied to you. They've lied to every resident in Pennsylvania. They covered up Joe Biden's cognitive decline. He's now a greatly diminished man. She was part of the cover-up. I don't know how anyone in good conscience, regardless of your political affiliation, could vote for these people who have constantly lied to the American people. And, hey, maybe you don't like Donald Trump's mean tweets. That's okay. You don't have to. But we were all safer with him as our leader. We were all safer with him being leader of the free world. None of this crap was going on, either overseas or domestically. None of it was happening under him. And let's get him back in office and have a safer, more prosperous country and a safer, more prosperous world.
They warn us all the time. Oh, Donald Trump, he's upending our institutions. Our institutions are in danger.
No, he's not.
Have we ever had less faith in our institutions under Biden and Harris? It's crazy.
They're desecrating the Constitution. They're desecrating our institutions. They're desecrating democracy. And like everything they accuse us of doing, it's projection. And everything that Donald Trump has said has come true. And it's a test of time, and we can look back at everything he said, but everything he said has become true. And I feel sad for our country, but the only way we can turn it around is by getting Donald Trump reelected.
I love Orwell novels, Congresswoman. I'm tired of living in one. But we appreciate everything you do down in Washington, D.C., not just to fight for your district, but also for the rest of us, including up here in the Delaware Valley. Congresswoman Nancy Mace, everyone, one of the good ones. Congresswoman, we appreciate you making time for us tonight on 1210.
Thank you so much. God bless. Thank you so much.
You are listening to The Matt Rooney Show on 1210 WPHT. Quick break, and then back with more of our numero uno in just a moment.
Hi, this is Dom Giordano. Get ready for a gift from Rescue Natural Supplements. It's their Christmas in July sale. That's right, the season of giving is making a summer comeback with huge savings. That means all health supplements will be slashed up to 50, 60, even 70% off site-wide. Treat yourself with savings on heart-healthy omega-3s, pain-relieving anti-inflammatories, natural immunity boosters, and so much more. To order, call 800-26-ALIVE, 800-262-5483. Speak to a rescue product consultant or shop online at res-q.com, res-q.com. Don't miss Rescue's Christmas in July sale. Shop savings up to 70% off all natural solutions for your highs and lows, from high blood pressure, cholesterol, low energy, testosterone. Rescue's got you covered. Hurry on over. Unwrap the joy of a healthier you at res-q.com. Do it today.
You are not your diagnosis.
A medical chart is not your identity.
And vision loss does not define you.
Your drive shows who you are.
And you are not alone.
Because we are driven too.
To be a beacon of strength.
A champion of courage.
An advocate for hope.
You are not alone.
Because we are stronger together.
We drive the research for the cures we are finding.
We're fighting macular degeneration,
retinitis pigmentosa,
Usher syndrome,
and the entire spectrum of blinding retinal diseases.
We fund.
We fight.
We win.
We
are the foundation fighting blindness.
Together, we are fighting blindness.
Join the fight at fightingblindness.org.
You can still look great in that bathing suit this summer, since it only takes 40 days to lose a contractually guaranteed 20 to 40 plus pounds with NJ Diet. That's nearly twice as fast as weight loss injections and without any of those nasty side effects. Within a week of starting, you will notice pounds coming off, and you'll feel good too, since you are doing it the natural way, quickly and safely. You can still get slimmer this summer and without any shots. Call 855-5NJ-DIET or go to njdiet.com to lose the weight for good.
We all want our kids to grow up safe and healthy, so we show them how. With honest conversations that let them know what we expect. That's especially important when it comes to alcohol and other drugs. And when it comes to pain medications, opioids, they need to know that they should never be shared with friends or family.
For more information about talking with your kids about underage use of alcohol and other drugs, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov.
Don't miss the Education Show with Dom Giordano every Sunday morning at 5:30. Find out how you can help your child or grandchild succeed. Sponsored by New Hope Academy.
The thought of my sons growing up without me inspired me to quit smoking.
I talked to my doctors, and then I threw away all my cigarettes, ashtrays, and lighters.
I started exercising instead of smoking.
Getting support from friends online kept me on track.
Staying away from alcohol when I was first quitting was key.
Instead of smoking after I ate, I'd get up and take a walk.
I missed having a cigarette in my hand, so I'd hold a pen or a straw, anything.
Until I knew I wouldn't give in to temptation, I spent more time with my friends who didn't smoke.
I went to places that were smoke-free.
I didn't stay quit the very first time I tried.
I kept on trying, and I learned something each time.
Do whatever it takes.
No matter how many times it takes.
I quit.
I quit.
I quit.
We did it, so can you.
You can quit. For free help, call 1-800-QUIT-NOW. A message from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and CDC.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-575-6481. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS.
Generous programs are now available that can give you a fresh start.
Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems.
We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau.
You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com
or call 800-575-6481. That's 800-575-6481.
Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
Hey, Ambler. We know your favorite station is Talk Radio 1210 WPHT. Follow us anywhere on the free Odyssey app.
Okay, so you're fully cooperating with this committee. On July 15th, this committee sent you a list of demands of information that we wanted. Has the Secret Service provided this committee a complete list of all law enforcement personnel that were there that day? Have you done that? Have you provided a list to the Oversight Committee? Yes or no?
I will have to get back to you on that.
That is a no. Have you provided all audio and video recordings in your possession to this committee, as we asked on July 15th? Yes or no?
I would have to get back to you.
That is a no. You're full of today. You're just being completely dishonest.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr.
Chairman, I want to.
Come on.
We have to maintain decorum in this committee, no matter how upset we get.
Have you provided any and all memos to this committee that we've asked you on July 15th? Have you provided all memorandums within the Secret Service?
I would have to get back to you on that.
That is a no. You are being dishonest or lying. You're being dishonest here with this committee. These are important questions that the American people want answers to.
That's Nancy Mace, folks, Congresswoman from South Carolina. You just heard live here a short time ago on the Matt Rooney Show on 1210 WPHT. It's cliche. I get it, but I said it to the Congresswoman. I'm going to say it again now. What you just heard from the hearing last week was what everyone, even plenty of Democrats who've completely not taken leave of their senses, were thinking when they were hearing a Secret Service director, Kimberly Cheadle, who, thank God, is now out of a job, stonewalling, lying, refusing to answer questions directed at her by members of Congress from both sides of the aisle. Look, I get it. When you're working in the Secret Service, it's in the title, right? There's certain things that maybe you can't disclose in public on the congressional record regarding tactics. She was refusing to answer things from Nancy Mace and other members of Congress that she had previously answered for members of the media, which tells you something about the Biden administration. Distressing, to say the least. And I've said it before, and I'm going to keep saying it. I am worried about President Trump. I really am. I asked Congresswoman Mace, do you think it's possible there was another shooter? She was unwilling to speculate on that front. But she said, listen, at the very least, there appears there's a conspiracy to cover up the incompetence that transpired on that day in Butler, Pennsylvania, when President Trump came within a millimeter of losing his life or having a very different life than he enjoys right now. So where do we go from here? I have no confidence, nor does she, that we're going to get an honest answer. I know what we need to do. Now more than ever, we need to change the guard down on the Potomac. Our government's not supposed to function this way. It can't function this way. We have no faith in our institutions because the people that run those institutions are not worthy of our faith. That is the point that the left continually forgets. I believe in this country and our Constitution and the principles embodied in that Declaration of Independence as strongly today as I did when I first learned about them as a school kid. If anything, in certain respects, I've come to revere our system that was set up by the framers even more, because look how resilient it is. Look at all the crappy presidents we've had just in our lifetime, and somehow we are still the leading power in the world. Any system that was designed any less near perfectly would have collapsed a long time ago. It is a heck of a machine that those guys in powder wigs put together, just a stone's throw from where we're broadcasting tonight here in the city of unbrotherly love. We got to fight for it. We can't give up on it. And I'm glad Nancy Mace has fighting her. She is fighting her, Andrew. See, that's what a representative's supposed to be. It's somebody who's supposed to go down there and advocate for us.
The questions that we can't ask ourselves and the things that we can only conspiracy theorize in our minds, they're the ones who are supposed to do it for us. That's the point of them being representatives in the republic that we live in. And I think that when we see people like that, Congress people and senators and such, that you can really tell are going to bat for us, at least to me, it's a little refreshing, and it reminds me that there is a little itsy-bitsy tiny of hope out there.
Amen. It's what we're paying for, so to speak, right?
Yeah.
We're not paying for people to enrich themselves and have a lifetime career and a pension and all the perks that go along with it, hanging out down there in the swamp. We want people to fight for us, and this is what Republicans forgot in the 90s and 2000s after the heady days of Newt's Republican revolution began to fade. But now they've rediscovered to some degree with Donald Trump, and thank God for it. 855-839-1210 is the number over on YouTube, youtube.com/@1210WPHT, where the chat is lively. And we're also discussing, once again, my shirt this evening. Elle says his shirt is pretty festive. Susie loves Jeff. He says, looking good, Matt. Nice shirt. Thank you. I regularly, especially in the summer, wear what my wife calls the fun guy shirts. And tonight, I think I had last week some flamingos as well, except it was overlaid on a field of teal.
Oh.
Tonight, I'm a man, so I don't know. I can't tell you whether this is navy blue or black.
Navy blue.
Yeah. We're all colorblind when it comes to navy blue and black.
Yeah. I used to think, growing up, watching sports and baseball, I used to think the New York Yankees were, like, their color was black. And then my dad was like, what?
Yeah.
What? But it's navy blue, yeah.
I think the first time I realized that was I was in, like, a Jersey sports shop.
Yeah.
And I
you see it in person.
And I saw it in person and realized that it was not black.
Right. And the thing for me, it wasn't even seeing a jersey or a hat. I was in a store, and it's like one of those T-shirt jerseys. So it's like the logo on the chest on the side, and then the whatever name on the back and stuff. But for the Yankees, it's navy blue, and for the longest time I assumed it was black because that's what it looked like on TV.
Some of these far left feminists act like it's so difficult to take down the patriarchy. There's a door you don't want us to walk through. Just paint it black, navy blue, confuse the heck out of us. We'll never figure it out.
Yeah,
we're simple creatures, us males. 855.
We'll go with that.
839-1210. So before the hour's done, I promised you that I would calm you down because I've seen a lot of hysteria on social media this week. You can check me out over on X, by the way, Matt Rooney NJ. That's my handle. Also at Save Jersey. That's my website. She's getting a bounce. The deep state is at it again. They've now done the switcheroo, and they're going to install her. We're never going to be able to win because they don't play by the rules. Well, it is true they never play by the rules, but we have to work hard enough that we win beyond the margin of cheat, folks. We have to win beyond the margin of cheat. That is our task. And then when you win, then you can reform the system. Like, for example, crack down on some of the abuses of the vote by mail system. But we got to win first. But let me give you a quick overview of some of these polls. Over at Decision Desk and The Hill, they collaborated to evaluate the post-Biden dropping out shifts in polling. Now, for some of these states, we don't have many polls, if any, yet. But for some of these states, and nationally, we've got a fair amount of surveys. I think there's an argument to be made that until we have the convention and we suffer through that, we may not see the full extent of any Kamala bounce there is. But at this point, we've had a week's worth of news cycle that's been nothing but glowing for Kamala Harris. Nationally, the average before Joe Biden dropped out of the race was Trump +2. Today, Trump +2. Over at Real Clear Politics, it's 1.7. So no real appreciable shift. And there were 11 polls that were evaluated by Decision Desk. Arizona, it was Trump +7 before. Now it's Trump +6, so Harris +1. Barely a statistical change. Georgia saw the most massive change, and it went from 7 to 5, a Trump advantage. That's based off of 2 polls. Most of these states, no change. We've got 3 polls out of Michigan. Trump +2, Trump +2. Pennsylvania, where we're broadcasting from this evening, Trump's still +3. He was +4 before. So, I'm not here to give you false hope. As I said at the top of tonight's program, the deep state is now once again moving with their allies in media and entertainment and the education system and the news industry to try to whitewash Kamala's record. We're going to talk more about that this evening, believe you me, and to defeat Donald Trump. But it's not going to be enough if we do our job and President Trump's campaign does their job, because Donald Trump has woken up quite a few people to the media's game. And we have some audio clips from some average Americans. There's some normal Americans out there working hard, and it'll restore a little bit of hope. But I don't want you to be so confident that you're not going to work hard, because this is still going to be a fight. This is going to be a knockdown, drag out. What was it, Andrew? Was it Rocky V where they had the street fight? I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, because 4 is when he fought Drago.
Yeah, he fought for freedom against communism.
Right, yeah. I can change.
He ended the Cold War with that speech.
Everybody can change. Right, but it was 5 that they had the street fight.
What an awful movie.
It was an awful movie, but that's what election 2024 is going to be. We are literally going to be out there in the streets of Bucks County, folks, fighting it out with these commies.
I'm thinking back about Rocky V and the similarities that you're bringing up about it. It's the guy, Tommy Morrison, getting promoted, getting talked about by the media as this great, wonderful thing, and Rocky has to come out of retirement and street fight the guy. Yeah. Like, gosh, the similarities are crazy.
Well, I'm not retired, but I will be in the streets of Bucks County, which is probably where this election's going to be decided. Maybe wearing this shirt with a MAGA hat right there alongside all of you out there in the 1210 WPHT
Get a MAGA
audience.
sticker pin thing and put it on top of the flamingos.
You've got good ideas. That's why we pay him the big bucks around here, folks.
That's why they save me for Sundays.
On that note, 855-839-1210 is the number. I know some of you are languishing on the phone lines. I'll do the best I can to get to you on the other side of the break. Stay tuned. We've got more guests tonight. We have our buddy Dr. Jonathan Lesser of Continental Economics. I like to say he's the conservative Bill Nye, here to talk about that Nantucket Vineyard wind disaster. And then we'll be joined in our final hour by Eric Telford of the Commonwealth Foundation. They've got an ad up concerning a guy named Josh Shapiro who thinks he may be the next vice president of the United States. Stay tuned to 1210 WPHT. Plenty more ahead. Back in a moment.
Hi, this is Dom Giordano with a big update on our huge Politics and Pints with Donald Trump Jr. We had to move the date to Thursday, September 12th. We'll talk the election, all things Trump, 2 days after the next scheduled presidential debate. Think about that. Politics and Pints with Donald Trump Jr., now September 12th, Scottish Rite Auditorium in Collingswood. All the ticket details and everything else at 1210WPHT.com. Be there September 12th.
Dan owed an unbelievable amount of money to the IRS.
I got behind on my taxes. It's a horrible feeling.
He was in denial.
And when I got those letters from the IRS, you wanted to act like they didn't exist.
Finally, Dan turned to Optima Tax Relief, the leading tax resolution firm. A-plus rated by the Better Business Bureau, they've resolved over $1 billion for their clients.
Optima got me a settlement with the IRS. These people are really people-friendly. It was every bit of a new lease on life for me.
The fast action and the great results made Dan's head spin.
I felt like I was in a dream, but it's real, and I have paperwork to prove it. They got the job done, and life is good.
For tax help you can trust, call Optima now for a free consultation.
If you're worried about what's going to happen with the IRS, stop worrying. Make the call now.
Call 800-354-2840. 800-354-2840. 800-354-2840.
Optima Tax Relief.
Testimonial from an actual client. Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Subscription required. Price varies based on product and subscription plan.
Hey guys, did you know there's a generic form of Viagra that works just the same but is 95% cheaper? And you can get it online at hims.com/joy. Through Hims, you'll get a free medical consultation to determine the ED medication that's best for you. Discreet shipping if prescribed, a 100% online process, and a range of treatment options, including trusted generic alternatives to the name brands, at up to 95% off. ED is personal, and at Hims, so is treating it. Just go to hims.com/joy and get connected to a licensed medical provider on
WPHT, WPHT HD, WOGL HD3 Philadelphia. From the Cherry Hill Volvo Studios, where relationships matter. Always live on the free Odyssey app.
I'm Stacey Lynn. We begin with the 2024 presidential election and big fundraising efforts from the likely Democratic candidate. CBS's Skylar Henry reports.
The Harris campaign says it's raised more than $200 million since President Biden's sudden exit from the race. The enthusiasm also prompting her Republican rival to escalate his attacks.
New Hampshire's Republican Governor Chris Sununu told ABC the momentum Dems are rolling on right now won't last long.
You're going to get back to numbers you saw about a month before the original debate, which is essentially a neck-and-neck race, or at least within the margin of error. Probably Trump up by a little bit nationally. Some of the swing states all in play.
The Democrats have been attacking a plan for some major government changes if Donald Trump is elected again. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer told a group of veterans.
This project is 2025, and it's a blueprint put out by the MAGA hard right. And if they get into power after November, they're going to implement it. And woe is our veterans, woe are our veterans' hospitals.
To the escalating tensions in the Middle East, CBS's Linda Kenyon tells us Washington's condemning a rocket attack that killed 12 young people playing soccer.
Horrific. That's the word used to describe the attack in the Israeli annexed region. National Security Council spokeswoman Adrienne Watson says the strike was conducted by Lebanese Hezbollah, quoting, "It was their rocket and launched from an area they control."
Massive wildfires are still ravaging the West. The Park Fire in Northern California has charred more than 350,000 acres. It's only 12% contained. And CBS's Jonathan Vigliotti tells us.
In Oregon, more than 1 million acres are burning. Smoke from Oregon and California wildfires has spread to multiple states, including Idaho, Montana, and North Dakota.
It is by far the most popular Olympic sport, and Team USA women's gymnastics is leading in qualifying rounds.
Simone Biles was brilliant, hitting on all 4 events despite re-injuring her calf muscle warming up for floor. Her coach, Cecile Landy.
A couple weeks ago, she felt, but after that it stopped, and then just a little bit again today.
She says it improved during the competition.
On bars, started to feel better.
And overall, it did not affect her performance.
It was pretty amazing.
The team final is Tuesday. Wendy Gillette, Bartlett, CBS News, Paris.
Team USA men's basketball had a really good day, too. They crushed Serbia in Game 1. CBS Sports analyst Tim Doyle.
Nobody was beating Team USA in this particular game on this particular day.
Team USA goes into their next game against South Sudan on Wednesday, leading the Group C standings. This is CBS News.
Sponsored by Progressive Insurance. Get renter's insurance to protect the things that make your place a home, including coverage for theft or damage. Visit Progressive.com.
WPHT, WPHT-HD, WOGL HD3 Philadelphia. From the Cherry Hill Volvo Studios, where relationships matter. Always live on the free Odyssey app. Live and local with Matt Rooney. On Talk Radio 1210, WPHT.
Welcome back, old friends, new frenemies, and all who lie elsewhere in between on the spectrum that is life. This is the Matt Rooney Show. I am the aforementioned Matt Rooney, joining you for our dose of Trace for our bilingual listeners here at 1210 WPHT, trucking along as the Democrat National Convention gets closer, and November is right around the corner. I went to one of the big box stores over the weekend to pick up some grout. Don't even want to talk about it. Don't ask me, Andrew.
I wasn't going to say anything.
And sure enough, the Halloween stuff is already beginning to come out of the warehouse.
What about the back-to-school stuff? Doesn't that have to come first?
Well, you're not buying too much back-to-school stuff at
yeah,
Lowe's or Home Depot, but
yeah, that's true. I guess.
No, I guess depending on what you're studying, I don't know. Maybe some
people. Like the order in my head is just like it's.
You go to trade school, maybe.
But it's like, well, I used to work at a department store, or I don't even, like sporting goods and stuff like that, and we used to, it was like clockwork. Whatever season it was in, 3 to 6 months in advance, and it's all that stuff.
Well,
it's kind of annoying, actually.
It's August this week.
Yeah.
And you will see the Halloween stuff come out. And then by beginning of October, mid-October, you will see the Christmas trees appear at all the stores.
Terrible.
That's what they do. They don't care.
My favorite holiday is Thanksgiving, and I will fight anybody that says anything is presumably better. It's the only holiday where you get together with family, you eat a ton of food. Usually there's no fighting or anything like that. Although this year with the election and everything, there might be some differences, but
there are going to be some hard feelings this Thanksgiving in plenty of households. And what I'm going to do, you have to remind me when we get closer. Many years ago, when Trump was first running for office, I wrote a guide for how to survive Thanksgiving with your leftist family members. I got to dig up that post and dust it off, because even though the names and the faces change, the principles remain the same. So
right.
I have to remember whatever our last show is before Thanksgiving. I need to go ahead and I need to share that with everyone, because we care about you here at the station, and we want you to have a good time, especially at the holidays. And I want to help you have the tools you need to succeed. And hopefully we all have plenty to give thanks for.
Oh, I hope so.
By the time we get to Turkey Day this year.
Yeah.
So we'll see. To be determined. 855-839-1210 is the number here at the Matt Rooney Show. We are over on YouTube if you want to watch live. YouTube.com/@1210 WPHT. Give us a like and make sure you subscribe if you have not already. Make sure you do it. It helps us out. I think if we get enough of them, Greg gives us a free toaster or something like that. I haven't asked him. You seem dubious.
I haven't heard anything about that.
You haven't heard anything about the free toaster? Well, we've gotten tons of people to sign up, and I haven't gotten mine, so it's probably just a station rumor. You can also check me out over on X. Matt Rooney NJ is my handle. We're going to be joined this hour because we had Nancy Mace, that was fantastic in the first hour. We're going to be joined this hour by our good buddy, Dr. Jonathan Lesser, who's going to break down the latest in the disaster that's happening up in Nantucket. Have you been following this at all, Andrew? It's absolutely crazy.
It's nuts. We were talking about it before we started tonight, and
I'll give everybody the long and the short of this here.
Frustrating stuff.
We're Jersey Shore people around here, right? Like, I love the Jersey Shore. I'm down there all the time. I work there. I play there. It's my home away from home. They wanted to build all of these offshore wind turbines off of the Jersey coast. Ocean Wind, championed by Ørsted, has thankfully failed. But now Atlantic Shores is trying to get up and running with the support of the Biden administration and with the Murphy administration. One of the concerns that many of us have voiced. What the heck was that? I think I just had a Joe Biden moment. Time to invoke the 25th Amendment and replace me with someone.
It's your first time offense. You're fine.
It's not in my contract. There's no 25th Amendment in there. But
what are the other 24 amendments?
Quiet you. We've talked about this for months, years even, how these wind turbines have so many drawbacks, not just killing the whales, not just the fact that they don't work. I mean, right? I mean, I hate to say it. I love Shamu. But if we were able to give seniors and working people and plenty of others cheap electricity by putting wind turbines out there, we might do the cost-benefit analysis that you need to do in public affairs and say it's worth it. Well, it's not going to happen. It's actually going to make things more expensive. But one of the many concerns that I've had, what happens when there's a hurricane? What happens if there's a natural disaster? I mean, everyone listening to this program in our area remember Superstorm Sandy. Came through, wrecked the Jersey Shore coast, went up into New York, caused problems inland too. What happens when one of those storm systems hits one of these wind farm fields? Well, we found out what happens up in Nantucket, and they didn't even have a hurricane. Apparently, a blade or blades broke up, and now you have these giant shards of fiberglass washing up at the beaches, and they've had to close many of their beaches in July. And you don't have to be a tourism expert to know that if you're in a place like Nantucket, you make your living between Memorial Day and Labor Day. So they are quite literally putting people out of business. They're putting them out of business because of these stupid windmills, which are ugly, hideous, don't work anyway, and kill whales. And now they could be hurting people. They're going to destroy businesses. Imagine if we had that wind farm off of the coast of Cape May County and some of these blades broke up and Wildwood and Cape May and Sea Isle City and Ocean City were closed for the month of July. The beaches were just, had big signs up, don't swim here because there's wind turbines in the surf. Can you imagine? It's crazy. It's insane. I think the only possible good thing to come out of this is it may be another death knell for the wind industry. But we're going to talk to Dr. Lesser about that coming up here in about 20 minutes. And, of course, we're going to have more on what's happening nationally. One of the things we really need to talk about, I guess at least a little bit tonight, is it looks like there's a decent chance that Josh Shapiro, governor of Pennsylvania, may be in line for a promotion, or at least he thinks he's in line for promotion. There's one report from Mark Halpern, who was out there in front of Biden resigning, so he's had good sources in the past. He was teasing earlier that she's made her decision, and it is Josh Shapiro. He didn't say that explicitly, but he put up a picture of Kamala, and he put up a picture of Josh Shapiro and said, developing. So I haven't checked back since the show started. I got a job to do here. We got to check that out on the break, but we're going to be joined in the third hour of our program by Eric Telford of the Commonwealth Foundation that's doing what they can to let Pennsylvanians know, and America for that matter, about the true Shapiro record. Somehow, and occasionally leftists do this, they're able to try to masquerade for at least a while as centrists. There is not a single Democrat left in this country in high elected office who's a centrist. They don't exist. It's impossible. You can't do it. I remember when I first began to become politically conscious, Andrew, back in like the 90s and the early 2000s. Mm-hmm. You still had what we used to call blue dog Democrats. There was Zell Miller, for instance, down in Georgia at the time, who, they actually were kind of in the center. They had some Democrat leanings, but there were some Republican opinions, conservative opinions that they held. They're gone. There aren't any left.
I think the last one was probably Tulsi Gabbard, her being like a Democrat at the point in her career. She's obviously made the switch.
Yeah.
And she hasn't switched parties, but because she's not in Congress anymore. But she was probably the last one that was at least what fits the closest to the description that you were talking about.
She was hounded and harassed out of the Democrat Party. We have an example.
I have no idea why she left the Democrat Party. Maybe we'll never know.
Well, I mean, it's not as if she was just disagreed with by her party. I mean, you had Hillary Clinton accusing her of being a Russian agent.
Yeah.
For goodness sakes. And then we have an example much closer to home. Congressman Jeff Van Drew from South Jersey represents a good portion of our listening area. He's a friend of the program, been on here a number of times. He is helping lead the fight along with some others against offshore wind, a big topic for us here on this program. He famously left the Democrat Party in 2019 over the first impeachment, said it's getting a little too wacky in here. I didn't leave you guys, you left me. So there really aren't centrists, and Josh Shapiro isn't one. So we're looking forward to talking to Eric Telford in the final hour about all that and maybe some more. And, of course, any other topics that we can possibly get to. I'll try to get to the phones, no promises, but hang in there if you're on there. I think maybe in the next segment we can try to take some. I said earlier I have some video clips I'll try to sprinkle out there during the course of the evening of normal Americans rejecting Kamala Harris to make some of you not freak out. You're freaking out there because you're doing what the media wants you to do. They want you to despair. You should not. This does not fundamentally change the game. I'm not going to lie to you. The lefty female voter in the suburbs and in the cities, and that's just what the polls tell us. For you gals out there that think I'm picking on you, this is just what the data tells us. Some of them now feel as if they have the green light to enthusiastically boost the Democrat Party again. So there's going to be somewhat of an uptick in enthusiasm, which could affect margins in some blue areas where you have high concentrations of that population, single women, particularly younger single women. But many are not sold on Kamala Harris. Plenty of Americans remain skeptical, and for good reason. And in Pennsylvania, there's another reason to doubt Kamala Harris. The fact that she is now flip-flopping on fracking. Say that 3 times fast. I would recommend it. You might say something that you regret. Andrew just looked at me extremely nervously.
I was ready, though.
Yeah. But look, here's the problem that Kamala Harris is going to run into, Andrew.
One of many.
One of many problems, not just forming a sentence.
Yeah.
Although, as I demonstrated earlier, even I have trouble with that from time to time. The issue Kamala Harris is going to experience is this is not some obscure state senator, U.S. senator, governor of what they consider a flyover state. This is someone that has been a senator from California and now vice president of the United States. She has a record. We have audio clips. And in the day and age of social media, everything lives forever. So these ads are going to write themselves, and the Republicans and the Trump campaign in particular were already carpet bombing the airwaves with some of Kamala's clips. And here's a clip. Let's just start out with this for our friends on the western banks of the Delaware. This is Kamala on Jimmy Fallon. This is cut number 7. You know that stupid thing Jimmy Fallon does where he slow jams? Somebody comes on a show, a celebrity or a politician, and they sing, and then he adds commentary. I don't get it. I don't watch late night. I used to watch Letterman and sometimes Leno. I'm dating myself a little bit here. I can't tell you the last time I shouldn't say I've stayed up that late. That's a fib. But I ain't watching a late night program on a network. But he does this slow jam thing, and Kamala Harris was with him during the last campaign. Listen to this commentary if you're a Pennsylvania voter who cares about America being energy independent and keeping the lights on, not just this summer when all of our ACs are cranking, but heading into next winter.
This country's got a whole lot of hot button issues that we could touch on. But what's the first thing we need to do to give us all some relief?
Well, let me start by saying this. Climate change is the single greatest threat facing our world today. That's why I am committed to passing a Green New Deal, creating clean jobs, and finally putting an end to fracking once and for all.
Mama La Kamala just don't give a frack.
I think there are some Pennsylvanians who give a frack. Pretty darn sure about that. And that was not an isolated incident. Cut number 4. Kamala Harris on CNN, a presidential town hall, one of those inane town halls that these networks love having. I've never watched a good one. here she is, once again, siding against Pennsylvanians and American energy independence.
There's no question I'm in favor of banning fracking. So, yeah, and starting with what we can do on day one around public lands, right? And then there has to be legislation. But yes, and this is something I've taken on in California. I have a history of working on this issue. And to your point, we have to just acknowledge that the residual impact of fracking is enormous in terms of the impact on the health and safety of communities. Yeah, so thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Her voice, man. That weird nasally fry thing she's got going on. I don't know where that... It's not even California. I don't know where that accent comes from. But do you really want to listen to that for 4 years? I said the same thing when Hillary was running. Do you want to listen to that for 4 years?
Sometimes the choices are obvious.
Sometimes the choices are obvious, Andrew.
I'm just saying.
Always hitting that nail directly on the head, my friend. Again, 855-839-1210 is the number. I am Matt Rooney. This is the Matt Rooney Show. Hour number 2 is in progress, but let's take a break to fill those coffee mugs. We'll be back with more Matt Rooney Show in a second.
Diabetes, high blood pressure, anxiety meds, everyone's on them. If you're a 50-year-old male, maybe a bit porky, and you may even have type 2 diabetes, $1 million of term insurance may only cost you about $200 a month. Call Term Provider. Speak with Big Lou at 800-353-9057. Big Lou will find a term life policy for you even if you have type 2 diabetes, are overweight, or have high blood pressure. Term Provider has helped thousands of people like you who think they can't afford term life insurance. To buy $1 million of affordable term life for you, all you need to do is call Big Lou at 800-353-9057. Lou will make sure the scales are tipped in your favor. Call 800-353-9057. Big Lou will answer your call and work to fit you into a term life policy that you can afford. Remember, Big Lou's like you. He's on meds too. Call 800-353-9057. 800-353-9057 or biglou.com.
For a complete list of Talk Radio 1210 WPHT's contest rules, go to 1210WPHT.com/rules.
Today, we're constantly taking photos and videos to remember our favorite moments. But what about those captured before the smartphone? What about the memories tucked away on aging VHS tapes, film reels, or in fading photos?
These cherished memories are fading away with time, vulnerable to threats like heat, moisture, and mold. But fear not, there's a solution to safeguard your legacy. Hi, I'm Adam.
And I'm Nick. Together we founded Legacy Box over a decade ago with one mission, to bring your memories into the 21st century.
It's time to bid farewell to old tapes you can't watch and faded photos. Legacy Box transforms them into digital treasures, ready to share with a click.
Just like magic, your shoebox of memories is now safely stored in the cloud or on a thumb drive.
Over 1 million families have trusted Legacy Box, so you can rest assured your priceless moments are in good hands.
Don't let your childhood fade away on old tapes. It's time to digitize those priceless moments.
Fast forward into the digital age. Visit legacybox.com/value and unlock 50% off your order. That's legacybox.com/value.
This summer, take a trip down memory lane with me and hear from the legends of baseball. I'm Brett Boone from the Brett Boone Podcast. Every week I have a conversation with one of baseball's greats to talk about the glory days and reflect on today's game. Randy Johnson, Pete Rose, Deion Sanders, Jay Buhner, Albert Bell, and Goose Gossage, they've all shared their wisdom with stories of their playing days. To hear who's next, follow and listen to the Brett Boone Podcast on the free Odyssey app or wherever you get your podcasts.
Kale and Company weekday mornings 6 till 10.
The biggest question, which makes me wonder if in fact it was a coordinated inside job, as Chompy Blobber or whatever his name says.
Sloppy Chris Christie.
Sitting in his basement, typing mean tweets. Shut up. As you guys know, I get a lot of emails and tweets, text messages from people saying, are there people controlling your narrative? Nobody controls our narrative here. Let me say that at 7:50 in the morning on Morning Drive when I know tons of people are tuning in. Nobody will ever control the narrative on this radio station except for the people that have talk shows here. Yeah. The end.
Start your day with Kale and Company. Weekday mornings 6 till 10 on Talk Radio 1210, WPHT, and the free Odyssey app.
Attention! If you owe money to the IRS, this is an urgent message. The IRS is cracking down by sending out heart-stopping letters, aggressively garnishing paychecks, seizing bank accounts, and putting liens on homes and businesses. They call it enforced compliance, and you better watch out because penalties and interest on unpaid taxes compound daily, making it seem impossible to ever get out of debt.
debt. Don't let the tax debt destroy your life. You need to call Optima Tax Relief, the #1 tax resolution firm. They're experts in the Fresh Start Initiative, one of the biggest breaks that the IRS has ever offered. If you qualify, you could save thousands. Optima's resolved over $1 billion of tax debt for their clients. A+ rated with the Better Business Bureau, they'll fight to get you the best deal possible. Call Optima now for a free consultation.
Call 800-354-2840. 800-354-2840. 800-354-2840.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
As a roofer, I'm always on the go. So I need to be able to get things done from anywhere. That's why I partnered with Beacon. With their unique Beacon Pro Plus app, I've got the brands I depend on, like GAF, right at my fingertips 24/7. I rely on Beacon because I never stop building, and neither do they. Now through September 15th, purchase GAF through Beacon Pro Plus and earn up to $1,500. Go to BECN.com or download the Beacon Pro Plus app today. Beacon, always building.
Hey, Riverton, we know your favorite station is Talk Radio 1210 WPHT. Always live on the free Odyssey app.
We did run into plenty of fervent Trump supporters who say the new challenger has only made them more enthused about the former president.
Does Kamala Harris getting in the race change the equation at all for either of you?
Change it, it ruins it. If she gets in, we're done. So
Done with what?
America's done for.
Can't disagree with that. That's CNN talking to auto workers up in the great American Midwest, the upper Midwest, where this election could very well be decided. Think of this, though, just if you want to have a little bit of fun here this evening and also give people some heartburn after they've had a big old Sunday dinner, Andrew. If Trump wins every state that he won in 2016, but setting aside for a second Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin. So set them aside for a second. Every other state he won in 2016, including Florida, Georgia, North Carolina, they're in his column. Add in that congressional district in Nebraska. Add in the state of Nevada. Trump's at 269. Now, that would be an electoral college tie, something we have not dealt with in this country in over 100 years. Not saying it's going to happen, because if the polls continue on their current trajectory, there's a decent chance Trump can win at least one of those states. But you can see why Kamala Harris may be playing footsie with Josh Shapiro. And I'm not even sure Josh Shapiro helps her win Pennsylvania, by the way. There's not a large body of evidence, Andrew, that having a vice presidential pick hail from a home state actually helps the presidential candidate carry that state. Classic example, Wisconsin with Mitt Romney, pick Paul Ryan. Paul Ryan, not unlike Josh Shapiro, had a machine in that state. Him and then Governor Walker had built a machine in Wisconsin that was very successful in 2016. Didn't make a darn bit of difference. So we'll see what happens. I know Rich Zeoli on this station had some very interesting commentary, our good pal Rich.
Yeah.
You know, something that could be factored into the decision for Kamala Harris and whoever it is that makes decisions for Kamala Harris, because let's face it, she's not exactly capable of high-level thinking here, is the fact that Josh Shapiro is Jewish. And newsflash, a lot of anti-Semitism going on right now in the Democrat Party. A lot of anti-Semitism. You saw what happened at Union Station in Washington, D.C. last week.
Yep.
Where a bunch of Republican congressmen, along with Speaker Johnson, many of these Republican congressmen were veterans, had to go down and put the flags back up after these Gaza terrorist sympathizers, or as I like to refer to them, future Kamala Harris voters, were burning American flags, ripping them off of poles, making Jews in the District of Columbia afraid to go out at night. I know someone, I won't say who has a friend down there who's Jewish who didn't want to go out that night.
I don't blame him.
This is 2024, a major American city, and not just a major American city, the capital of our nation.
Right.
The jewel of the Columbia, and Jewish Americans were afraid to go out because of these lefty scumbags. I mean, folks, I think Andrew said it earlier. Sometimes it's not really a choice. Sometimes the choice is obvious. Do you really want to continue to aid and abet this by not fighting back against it? Whew. Let's go to the phones. We have time to take a phone call before our next break. I know we're burning daylight here, even though it's all burned out. Let's go to Chris in Malvern. You're on the Matt Rooney Show with Matt Rooney. Good evening. Welcome.
Love the Rooney Show on Sundays. I apologize because I've been on hold for so long, and I've had a couple too many that I completely forgotten about what I told the screener what I was going to talk about. But
so I have to tell you, you are not the first person to be intoxicated on this show. Andrew, keep your hand on the dump button. Keep your hand on the dump button at all times, because we no longer trust Chris from Malvern. But, well, let me see if I can help you out here a little bit, though. And there's some irony in your disclosure. I think what you originally called in about was what was Joe Biden going to do to mess up the country in the last few months in office. I think if you listen to that speech, he gave us a list of nonsense that is unachievable. He gave us a list of nonsense that's unachievable. I think one of the things he said was cure cancer. Now, that's great. That's a noble goal. Who hasn't, Chris, been affected by cancer in their lives? But ultimately, is Joe Biden going to do anything between now and the end of January 2025 to end cancer? I don't think so, especially when the guy has trouble putting his pants on in the morning. It's not happening. But, Chris, we want you to enjoy the rest of your evening. Have a cocktail for me, because I'm not going to get one at least until well after 10 o'clock. And at that point, I'll probably be too sleepy. See how rigorous it is to get on this program? We drive people to drinking, Andrew.
It's unfortunate, but, you know.
Well, look, it is what it is. We've got a very busy program here. We don't have a lot of time to fit everything in.
It's the end of the weekend, too, so.
It's also the end of the weekend. People are having barbecues. They're having a good time. At least Chris doesn't have the nuclear codes tonight. More than we can say for the current occupant of 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, right? Goodness gracious. Biden's sober. Remember that for a minute, folks. Democrats come up with this stuff, and usually, we suspect, when you're hearing from them, they're sober. Ted Kennedy at least had that excuse, right? Ted Kennedy rarely sober when he was alive. Rest in peace, right? Not so much the current crop. 855-839-1210 is the number. Hard break here, but when we return, our buddy Dr. Jonathan Lesser. What's going on up in Nantucket with Vineyard Wind and these shards of fiberglass from wind turbine blades that are shutting down beaches in peak season? We'll hear about that and a whole lot more here on The Matt Rooney Show. See you in a minute.
Don't miss The Education Show with Dom Giordano every Sunday morning at 5:30. Find out how you can help your child or grandchild succeed. Sponsored by New Hope Academy.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-575-6481. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS.
Generous programs are now available that can give you a fresh start.
Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems.
We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau.
You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com
or call 800-575-6481. That's 800-575-6481.
Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
NHL star Matt Martin for American Humane.
Hi, I'm Matt Martin, and in all my years of playing professional hockey, I've gotten my share of bruises and injuries. But for many who really put their lives on the line every day, it's not always the injuries you can see that hurt the most. I'm talking about our veterans. Every single day, 184 veterans are diagnosed with post-traumatic stress. And tragically, 20 take their own lives. When medications and therapy don't help, professionally trained service dogs can. American Humane, serving the U.S. military for over 100 years, has put together a free guide to help veterans obtain these life-saving service animals. If you are a veteran or know a veteran struggling with PTS, please go to AmericanHumane.org for this free, downloadable resource. Let's give our veterans the help they need to win their battle.
For more information, visit AmericanHumane.org.
Don't let woke win. Follow 1210 WPHT on the free Odyssey app. Download it now.
People are assuming that because I'm a Latina woman that, I'm going to be excited about her. And it's not that easy for me because I worry about character. We had somebody that was the right hand of somebody that was not healthy who was silent about it. And that concerns me.
Not Fox News, not 1210 WPHT. That was CNN once again speaking to a Georgia voter, a female Latina, telling that news network, which is decidedly unfriendly to President Trump, that she worries about Kamala's character. I was just talking earlier today to a swing voter who was very honest with me. He said they voted for Barack Obama in 2012, right? And had voted for Joe Biden in 2020, but was sitting this one out. They cannot bring themselves to support the orange man by casting a ballot for him, but has no confidence for Kamala Harris because she's stupid.
Well, I think you're gonna.
Call what it is, right?
Well, there's people in I think every family, and I'll use my family for example. There's a family member I've had conversations with. And I would say that I would be a little bit more open and honest, or at least more direct about supporting President Trump in this campaign and everything that's going on. Family member of mine was a little bit more reserved about it, would have liked to have seen, if not Nikki Haley or somebody like that, become the candidate themselves, but at least having somebody who's a little bit more established as a politician, a lot more than J.D. Vance, be the vice president pick. So every single thing that, President Trump has come out and said, and not everybody likes what he says and what he has to talk about. I understand that.
It's so funny how people are different because the idea of listening to Nikki Haley,
I know,
with that artificially, I'm speaking down to you and speaking slowly so you understand me thing that she does. I can't. You know what I'm talking about? She almost looks like she's unhinging her jaw.
Well, it's the funny thing is, it wasn't until the assassination attempt on President Trump, that my family member. I remember I came home. I don't know if we were out somewhere and we came home or if it was the next day I was talking to him. And he looked at me and he was like, "This is the craziest thing I've ever seen." And so I asked him straight up right then. I was like, "So can I ask you where your vote's going to go?" And he was like, he was doubting before, but now the situation is completely changed. And I feel like a lot of Americans that were close to the middle, whether you're left middle or right middle, people are pretty dynamic about where they're going to go now.
Trump said it himself.
Yeah.
He said it himself. They're out there talking about democracy day in, day out, not even using the word correctly. How many of them have taken a bullet for democracy, like President Trump did? 855-839-1210 is the number. Our next guest, one of our favorites, is on the line. Can't wait to catch up with him. I've said it earlier, and I'll say it again. I like to say he's like the Bill Nye pushing back against green energy. If you went to Bizarro World, right, and Bill Nye was suddenly a conservative, it would be Dr. Jonathan Lesser. He's a senior fellow with the National Center for Energy Analytics. He is the president of Continental Economics, and he joins us tonight on 1210 WPHT. Dr. Lesser, welcome back to the Matt Rooney Show.
Well, thanks, Matt, for having me. I appreciate it. It's always fun to be here.
Well, the feeling is mutual. It's a mutual admiration society on this end, and especially since not a lot of our listeners know this, you're not on the East Coast, nowhere near it. You're out in a, I guess maybe a battleground. I haven't seen any recent polling out there.
Well, I'm in New Mexico, and New Mexico's become a pretty progressive state. It was always a Democratic state, but the progressives got rid of all the old-line Democrats who were pretty conservative, really. Mainstream folks, and they've taken over everything.
Yeah, I did see one poll back in June with Biden that had Trump only down one, but we'll see. We can always hope for some logic to penetrate out there in the desert.
I certainly hope so.
for our sake and for yours. But speaking of things that are completely illogical, I said this in the wind-up tonight when I was talking about you joining us on the program. We've been talking for God knows how long now, trying to warn people that there was no argument for these wind turbines. They don't work. They're bad for the economy. They're bad for ratepayers. They're bad for the natural environment. Find a category. You can't fashion a good faith reason to support these things. And now perhaps Americans are getting a very stark example of why offshore wind is a really bad idea. We have beaches up in Nantucket in July that are closed. Can you lay it down for us in case anybody hasn't heard this story yet? It's incredible.
Sure. This is the offshore wind project called Vineyard Wind. It's being built south of Nantucket Island, about 15 miles or so off the island. And last week, a turbine blade disintegrated. And it turned out that was the second blade on that turbine because the first one broke when they were installing it. And this one broke last week. It was calm weather, nice, typical summer day, not stormy at all. The CEO of GE Vernova, who is building these turbines, didn't tell anybody on Nantucket for 2 days until all the fiberglass and crud started washing up on their beaches, and this is peak tourist season. And then, you'll love this, he called it a manufacturing deviation. And that's kind of like the Hindenburg had a hydrogen deviation.
That's right.
Or you could call it Blade Liberation Movement, if you like, BLM. The folks, the beaches were closed. They had to send people in hazmat suits to start cleaning up the beaches. And the worst thing, besides closing the beaches, wrecking their tourism, there's another issue that no one's really talking about, which is that they put these turbines together, the blades that are fiberglass with these various resins. And one of those resins, or several of them, are deadly to marine life because they dissolve in water. So you've probably got that problem with a lot of dead marine life right now from the stuff dissolving in the ocean. It's really not clear what's going to happen next. They've put a halt on more construction. But, these blades, for people who don't know, they're as long as a football field. And, if you ever tried to sort of take your old metal tape measure and extend it about 6 feet, 7 feet, and then it just kind of collapses because it won't go any farther, that's kind of what's going on here. You have these huge turbines. This one, the rotor, it's 800 feet tall. It's huge. And then what's going on is these turbines, the blades are under tremendous stress. And you can imagine what's going to happen when a Category 4 or 5 hurricane comes up the Atlantic coast. It's happened many times before. It's going to happen again. My guess is these blades are all going to snap like toothpicks. And then you're going to have a disaster on your hand. And another little-known fact is that the Vineyard Wind, while it's owned, I think, in partially by Ørsted, which is a Danish company with a majority owner of the Danish government, they're all set up as limited liability companies whose only assets are the turbines themselves. So just imagine when all the turbines are snapped and destroyed by a powerful hurricane. The assets are worthless. Vineyard Wind, the owner, just declares bankruptcy, walks away, leaving taxpayers and ratepayers with the bill to clean up the mess. So, not only are they going to be paying very high prices for electricity, that's going to increase intermittency and cause, more the ISO New England and where you are, it's called PJM, they're going to have to essentially have gas generators on standby, always ready for when the wind dies down or when the wind gets too strong and they have to shut these turbines down. None of those costs are included, but ratepayers will have to foot that bill too. So this is just a disaster.
And I know we've talked about it before in the context of what they've been trying to do off the state of New Jersey's coast, the Great Jersey Shore. When it comes to decommissioning these things, when they've reached the end of their life, even if they don't snap like toothpicks, as you say, from a storm or under ordinary conditions, it's the taxpayers that would be on the hook for decommissioning them. It's not like a nuclear power plant where there is a well-funded, pot of money set up.
That's right. None of these facilities have to set up a decommissioning fund that they have to contribute to every year. Which is not the case with nuclear power plants. They have to do that. So yes, at the end of their life, they'll just walk away, and taxpayers will left to foot the decommissioning bill.
The size of these things too just continues to blow my mind. Just for a point of reference, folks, the Empire State Building, don't include the little spire at the top. That's 1,250 feet. These things, Dr. Lesser said, are over 800 feet. So when they
Matt,
tell
they're
you,
thinking about building even larger ones. They've got plans, on the drawing board to make these things even larger. And we're right now they're basically at the limit of the machines they need, the ships they need to install these. It's just crazy.
It's classic leftism, right? Double down on, go bigger and harder on an idea that does not work well because it fits your narrative. And some very wealthy lefties are going to get even richer by doubling down on it. No one tracks this more closely than you do, and you've done some great work for affordable energy for New Jersey over at your current organization where you're working, where you turn out some fantastic stuff. Definitely check out The Good Doctor over at the National Center for Energy Analytics. Do you think that this is a death knell for the wind industry? Election 2024 may play a big role, obviously, whether there's a Harris administration or a second Trump administration, but it's getting harder and harder to hide the negative impact of these things from the American people when shards of fiberglass are washing up on the beach. They could try to explain away the whales. I don't know how they explain away this one because, hey, again, the murder weapon is washing up on the beach.
Well, they'll probably say fiberglass is good for you. You should have a bowl every morning or something. So,
Andrew's munching on some right now in the booth, right?
Oh, good.
Keeps
for
them big and strong, yeah.
So, I would love to tell your listeners that this is the death knell for offshore wind, but I don't think it is, for the simple reason that you mentioned. There's just too much money out there to be made with this stuff. And until that changes, until it becomes so clear that these are an absolute disaster, that they don't work, the costs to ratepayers are so high that, and the lights start going out because the generating system operators like ISO New England and PJM can't compensate for the loss of all the reliable generators, and then they run into the impacts of, gee, it's a summer day, everyone is running their air conditioning, or worse, in the winter now because they want to electrify everything. If you want to charge your EV, you want to turn on your electric heat pump that you've been mandated to install, and guess what? There's no electricity. So, maybe then they'll realize it, but I don't know. I would love to see it happen. I know there's a lot of pushback now from the Vineyard Wind debacle that just happened. There's going to be some more hearings. Thankfully, at least they've stopped constructions for now. But, what I really think we need, frankly, is a big hurricane to just come up and show that these things get destroyed.
God, it's horrific, but unfortunately, you're correct. That's how humans are. Sometimes we don't react until the worst happens. But before I let you go, Dr. Lesser, actually, Andrew, can we play this clip? Because I think it ties everything we talk about with the good doc together with a nice little bow, albeit a horrifying one. This is Harris Biden, because we have to make sure we get the order correct now, Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen, who put a price tag, Dr. Lesser, on what transitioning the lower carbon global economy would cost. I think it's low, but listen to this. This is cut number 17.
Being so close to the magnificent Amazon is also a reminder that the transition to a lower carbon global economy is also the single greatest opportunity of the 21st century. The transition will require no less than $3 trillion in new capital from many sources each year between now and 2050.
$3 trillion, Dr. Lesser. I pay attention to you, so I suspect she's not even being honest about that. But good God. And she said it with a straight face.
I've heard this. I didn't hear the clip. I did just now, but I read about this. The number, it's absurd. Where are you going to come up with that money? Where's this country going to come up with that? No one else is going to do that. Europe's not going to do it. Certainly developing countries like China and India, they have no interest in this at all. No. China is basically selling us the rope that they're hanging us with economically because of the green energy. It's absurd. You're going to spend $70 trillion or $100 trillion, and it will have no impact on climate at all. That's the real travesty of all of this. Everything we do, all the offshore wind will cut emissions by 100 million tons, or having everybody drive an electric vehicle will do that. It won't have any impact on climate at all. You won't even be able to measure it if you believe the models. You can run the EPA's own model called MAGIC and find out for yourself, and it'll tell you, well, how much will the temperatures go down by the year 2100? This is just a colossal waste of money. What they should be doing is spending it on adapting to changing climate, because the climate's always changing. If you look at sea level rise, by the year 2100, it'll probably be about 6 or 7 inches higher than it is now, because it's been going up at a couple millimeters a year for the last 10,000 years, since the last ice age. So can't we spend a few $1 trillion on building a little higher seawall? That seems like a better solution to me than trying to completely re-engineer the world economy to be a low-carbon one, a la the World Economic Forum.
And it's starting to have a real-world impact beyond fiberglass washing up on the beach. I mean, economic indicators across the board show that consumer confidence is beginning to flag. People are worried about their finances. You see some of the polling, something like 40% of Americans in a recent survey are unsure whether they're going to be able to pay their bills next month. You have to think that some of it is because we're investing so much capital in this effort to revolutionize an economy that was fine without these unproven technologies,
Sure.
Dr. Lesser.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. You were spending money we don't have, running up deficits, which are raising interest rates. Right now, 70% of all the taxes being collected in this country by the federal income taxes go to service our debt, pay the interest. What about the rest of it? So, it's the economist Herb Stein. He worked for I don't know if it was Reagan or Ford, a long time ago. He said something that can't go on forever won't. And that's what's going to happen. This will all end. It will come crashing down just like a vineyard wind turbine blade. And, hopefully it will come crashing down and not do incredible amounts of economic damage.
Elections have consequences, folks. If there's a theme of not just tonight's show, but every show between now and Thanksgiving, That's it. And we always appreciate Dr. Lesser's contributions. He fills in the blanks for us and explains it like no one else does. Again, remember, you can check him out online over at the National Center for Energy Analytics. He's the president of Continental Economics. And we always, always appreciate you making time for us, Dr. Lesser. Thanks for joining us on 1210 tonight.
Thanks again, Matt. Always a pleasure.
Likewise. I enjoy that guy so much. I've said it before, Andrew, and I'll say it again. If he was my economics or science teacher or professor in school, I would have paid a lot more attention, and I might have had a real major, right? I wouldn't have done politics with a minor in theology, which when those are your choices academically, you either have to go to law school, which is what I did, or like run for pope because I went to Catholic school. So the choice was kind of made.
But if you did go down that road, we might not have the Matt Rooney show today.
We might not have the Matt Rooney show today. Imagine that. What a darker, sadder world it would be without you and I illuminating it on Sunday nights.
Well, I was going to say, what are people going to do on Sunday nights when it's not football season?
Well, we know what that caller was doing earlier out in Melbourne. He's getting a load on.
Yeah. But at least he listens.
Was he playing a Matt Rooney drinking game? We probably should ask more questions.
I don't know. Maybe he was taking maybe every like a certain time frame, every like minute or whatever. That's how many things he would consume.
Right. Yeah. Every time I say folks.
Right.
Which Stocker doesn't like. He hates when you say folks. I can't help it. When you talk one way for 40 years, it's hard it's difficult to change.
Yeah, habits aren't that easy to break.
Habits are not easy to break, right? But you can always make a new start. We're hoping that Pennsylvania and my home state of New Jersey make a new start of things coming up here in just a few months. The hope remains.
Do you think? And I'll if I'm allowed to, I'll throw my own question out there. There's a lot of stuff about.
I will allow it.
People, a lot of people think that Pennsylvania is going to vote red this year because of Donald Trump, and a lot of the swing states are going to be going to Donald Trump. Do you honestly think, like, if you could put a percentage one way or the other, what do you think the odds are that New Jersey's actually going to go red this year?
That New Jersey's going to go red?
Yeah.
Oh man.
Because he's had the rallies. He's had the rallies down at the shore. There's a lot of people who are upset with the current. I mean, people are mad at the governor who live in New Jersey. So
it's worth noting that South Jersey, where I call home, is a lot redder than New Jersey as a whole.
Right.
If you look at the map of New Jersey, that I-95 corridor that runs up through the heavily industrialized part of New Jersey, or what used to be heavily industrialized.
Yeah,
now it's densely populated. What I always like to say is the reason New Jersey is blue is because of the opening credits of The Sopranos. Where you see Tony driving, that's why we're blue. If you get up to the Water Gap in the Northwest, or if you go down to South Jersey, certainly the coast, the shore, it's actually not just red, it's reddening.
Yeah.
So, look, part of the reason, I'm just going to square with you folks because I always am, part of the reason why Trump has rallied in Wildwood twice is not only because of his close personal friendship with Jeff Van Drew, who did a solid for Trump when he switched parties back in 2019, but it's also the Philadelphia media market, right?
Yeah.
So when Trump's in South Jersey, you're seeing him in Pennsylvania, the ultimate battleground state. But do I think it's possible? Yeah, I think it's possible. And do I think that there's a very good chance, if things continue as they are, that we're watching New Jersey's margin on election night and saying, holy cow, it's been a while since a Republican did that well here?
Yeah.
George Bush only lost New Jersey by about 5 points back in 2004.
Oh.
Right? So in that very real sense, it could be a bellwether. And as we get closer to Election Day, one thing I like to do on this show is I like to have some local candidates on for both sides of the river.
Sure.
I'm going to try to pull some people on here from South Jersey who I know. I like these folks, many of them I support, to talk about what's happening at ground level. Because I want to give my listeners a voter guide of where to watch on election nights. If you're sitting there on your laptop, your tablet, whatever, and you see, like, for example, Trump winning Gloucester County, New Jersey, you know Republicans are on the right track. If he's getting blown out by 8 points, 10 points in Gloucester County, I don't know. Do what Hollywood always does, I guess, and threaten to move somewhere else. That's always their play.
Right, and I think if this was a year that New Jersey was going to vote red, or if there was ever going to be a year that New Jersey was ever going to vote red for the first time since a long time ago.
Well, this goes back to what I was saying a minute ago, though. The challenge with New Jersey is it is the suburban state, so you have high concentrations of these woke female voters. And stop dumping on me online. I don't dislike women. Not only am I married to one, but I know how to define one, which is more than you can say for most of the Democrat Party. I'm not going to draw you a diagram. This is a family program, but I know the difference between a man and a woman, unlike Kamala Harris, okay?
Yeah.
But it is what it is. It's the polling, it's the data, and suburban women with a certain level of educational attainment are the ones that are booing Kamala Harris in this election. And many of them are single, and yes, some of them have cats. Some of them have cats. Some of them have dogs. But some of them, dog lady just doesn't sound quite as nice for whatever reason, right? And you got a lot of them in New Jersey. That's why New Jersey's tough. A lot of woke suburbs. Pennsylvania is a little more balanced. Yes, you have the woke suburbs, but then you have that giant swath of God's country in the middle of the Keystone State.
Well, that's
right?
what New Jersey doesn't have. New Jersey, you have in the north, you have South New York, and then in the south of New Jersey, you have the bits of pieces of Philadelphia people.
We have some, but proportional to the population of the rest of the state, it's just not as large.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
That's the difference.
If South Jersey was its own state, there'd be a pretty decent chance it would go red this year.
100%.
855-839-1210 is the number. Got to take a time out and play some ads at the end of the hour because we are capitalists around here. Got to make some money. But don't worry. There's one full hour left of the Matt Rudy Show. Going to talk more about Josh Shapiro. Eric Telford of the Commonwealth Foundation joins us, and a whole lot more here on 1210 WPHT.
Talk Radio 1210's Huge Politics and Pints with Donald Trump Jr. is moving to Thursday, September 12th. Join Dom Giordano as he talks to Donald Trump Jr. about all things Trump. Just 2 days after the planned presidential debate. The new date, Thursday, September 12th at Scottish Rite Auditorium in Collingswood. Your tickets include a copy of Letters to Trump by former President Trump. A cash bar will be available. Get your tickets now at 1210WPHT.com. That's 1210WPHT.com.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-575-6986. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS.
Generous programs are now available that can give you a fresh start.
Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems.
We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau.
You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com or call 800-575-6986. That's 800-575-6986. Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
When you need to know, depend on KYW News Radio 1039 FM.
We are 100 days out from the election, and Kamala Harris has raised $200 million already. Simone Biles starred at the Olympics despite a bad leg, and Marvel is back on top with Deadpool and Wolverine making a staggering $205 million in its first weekend.
Get the latest anytime on KYW News Radio. Now on Crystal Clear 103.9 FM.
You've never needed us more.
You can still look great in that bathing suit this summer since it only takes 40 days to lose a contractually guaranteed 20 to 40 plus pounds with NJ Diet. That's nearly twice as fast as weight loss injections and without any of those nasty side effects. Within a week of starting, you will notice pounds coming off, and you'll feel good too since you are doing it the natural way, quickly and safely. You can still get slimmer this summer and without any shots. Call 855-5NJ-DIET or go to njdiet.com to lose the weight for good. Heart disease and stroke can be catastrophic. They're leading causes of death, disability, and healthcare spending in the U.S., yet they're largely preventable. Alarmingly, heart disease and stroke are taking a toll on middle-aged adults 35 to 64, with over 800,000 deaths and hospitalizations in 2016. Million Hearts is a national initiative focused on preventing 1 million heart attacks, strokes, and other cardiovascular events by 2022. Coordinated actions by Million Hearts partners in communities, healthcare, and public health will keep people healthy, optimize care, and improve outcomes in populations at risk. Everyone has a part to play. Focus on the ABCs of heart health. A. Aspirin use when appropriate. B. Blood pressure control. C. Cholesterol management. And S. Smoking cessation. To learn more, visit cdc.gov/vital signs.
You are not your diagnosis.
And vision loss does not define you.
Your drive defines you.
And we are here to let those challenged with blinding retinal diseases know
that we are driven too.
To be a beacon of strength,
a champion of courage,
an advocate for hope.
And we are stronger together.
We fund.
We fight.
We win.
We
are the Foundation Fighting Blindness.
Join the fight at fightingblindness.org.
Why should you volunteer with Meals on Wheels?
I'll come to the door with one meal and I'll walk away with a full heart.
Drop off a warm meal and get more than you expect. Volunteer at americaletsdolunch.org. Brought to you by Meals on Wheels America and the Ad Council.
WPHT, WPHT-HD, WOGL HD3 Philadelphia. From the Cherry Hill Volvo Studios, where relationships matter. Always live on the free Odyssey app. Live and local with Matt Rooney on Talk Radio 1210 WPHT.
Back as promised. I never lie to you folks. Amaze you, wow you, maybe sometimes distress you from week to week. But I'm never going to do you dirty.
Unlike
who? Sounds like you have a candidate.
Well, I mean, I can think of a lot of people. Current vice president.
The current vice president of the United States.
The current president who's probably not aware that he's a president, who's probably in bed by now.
Yeah,
just some names I was thinking about during the break.
It's probably a good time to be Joe Biden because you can just kind of sit in a comfy chair and the Olympics is playing in the background. And
well, unless his wife is probably still upset because she probably didn't want to leave.
Oh yeah, no,
that's probably not the best living room parlor that I would want to be in right now.
Did you notice the photos that were shared online after he made his announcement that he was going to drop out? And the Biden family was in tears. It's not that they cared about Dad, right? If they cared about Joe Biden, they would have told him not to run again. They would have said, no, you're not doing this. I get it. It's not easy. We've all been involved in that kind of a conversation with the senior member of your family. But you put your foot down and you say it ain't happening. No, they're all upset because the gravy train is ending.
We're not important anymore.
Well, how does a guy like Hunter make money? Right? Well,
the golden question.
Well, there you go, right? You know?
We know the answer to the question.
Right. Whoever stashed that bag of cocaine at the White House, where are they going to stash it now?
Delaware.
I guess.
Or Scranton.
Right?
Or the coal mines. I don't know.
No, they want to get rid of coal, right?
Well, Joe Biden keeps talking about how he was raised by coal miners. Raised by coal miners in California when I grew up on the moon with look.
There's nothing
First
wrong.
of all,
there's nothing wrong with your radio. Andrew just has Joe Biden's speaking cadence down exactly.
I've heard it too many times.
Oh, it's
one of the things about working at WPHT, I guess.
It's sad. Don't care if it's sad for him. It's sad for the rest of us. 855-839-1210 is the number here at the show, folks, for our third and final hour. You can also head over to YouTube, youtube.com/@1210WPHT, where things are still cranking right along this evening. Blockbuster show had Nancy Mace in the first hour, Dr. Lesser, who never disappoints, in hour number 2. We still have one more guest coming up here shortly after our next break, Eric Telford, who is wading into the conversation that is building over Josh Shapiro because it's been leaked that he's being vetted as a possible Harris running mate this November. Democrats need a new number 2. They need somebody presumably that could maybe kind of sort of help them in a battleground state, make Kamala look less incompetent. Now, Josh Shapiro, perhaps because he wears glasses, and speaking as a fellow member of the Four Eyes Society, they do lend to you a certain level of gravitas, Andrew, right?
I mean, I wear glasses too. I've never felt any effects of that.
No way. That's why you don't bother wearing them on the program.
Well, the reason
it's not going to make a difference for you.
It's actually pretty traumatic. So I got to compose my emotions as we talk about this. But
do we need like sad music? Or
no.
something?
It's
no violence.
Well, a lot of people would laugh at me, like my brother who was actually there when it happened. So I was. I mean, I still am into sports. I just don't play them as much. But in high school, soccer, baseball, all that good stuff. My mother did not think that contact lenses were a good investment for me. Obviously, you got to figure out insurance and what we can afford and blah 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 and all that stuff.
Sure.
And
kids lose them too.
Yeah, well, it's like, what kid is responsible for anything now?
No, it's expensive when your kid is constantly losing.
Yeah,
your
you need the
contact
solution
lenses.
to store them in. You got to have like 50 containers because you lose them all.
Yep.
What put my mom over the top about getting me contact lenses? First practice, my senior year, just doing some drilling, going back and forth, getting into shape and all that stuff. And at the end of practice, we're doing some drills about taking corners and specific play sets and what we were going to do in certain situations. So in the particular drill that we were doing, I was playing a defender in a certain position along the one sideline, and my job was to follow the guy with the ball to a certain place while somebody else was going to pick him up when he moved to the thing. In a surprise move, which I wasn't expecting, the guy crossed the ball earlier than when I thought he was going to. So my natural reaction is to block the pass. But what ended up happening was I was standing so close to the guy because that's my job, was to tail him so close. He drove the soccer ball right into my face.
Ooh.
And I had glasses on.
You used to be pretty,
and
then you weren't.
No.
And your glasses paid the ultimate price.
Yes, and the bridge of my nose. And so then my mom came to practice to pick me up, and she was like, "Oh, well, I guess we're getting contact now."
Did you do the Ralphie from A Christmas Story? Remember when he accidentally shoots himself?
And then he fake cries.
And he fake cries, yeah.
No. Well, I wasn't sure if I wanted contact lenses because I didn't like the idea of stuff going into my eyes like that.
See, can I tell you what I had? Because I've been in glasses since first grade. I had the rec specs.
Yeah.
Those rec specs, man, they were heavy duty. They actually made me more dangerous. I played soccer. The capabilities you had to headbutt a ball, headbutt somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
You're indestructible.
Yep.
Yes.
The front of your face was basically a brick.
But I feel you. The glasses thing's tough. I remember when I got my glasses in first grade, my teacher thought she was doing a nice thing and encouraged the class. Because I'm in first grade. Like, hey, why don't we draw pictures for Matt about him and his new glasses? Every single one of those little jerks I went to school with drew me as Waldo.
What teacher thinks that that's a good idea?
Terrible idea. Terrible idea. Some of you Gen Zers and Gen Alphas may not know who I'm talking about. Waldo, that guy with glasses and the red and white stripes outfits that just kept getting lost everywhere and you had to find him in the book.
Terrible.
Every single one of them. So if you want to know why I'm such an angry, nasty, miserable person.
Who wears glasses?
Who wears glasses, that's why.
But I'm like, it just took me a while to get used to contact lenses. Like I said, I didn't like the idea of sticking something in my face or my eye intentionally. So
I don't know why if that's why Josh Shapiro wears glasses.
I don't know.
It's possible, but
yeah.
he is intended to project competence, right? And he's been relatively popular so far here in Pennsylvania for reasons that would take more than a show to go into, even the 3-hour program we're granted here at the station. But the truth is much more complicated. So we look forward to speaking to Eric about that coming up here in just a few minutes. And we'll still try to get in whatever else we can. We'll try to go back to the phone lines. Do we play that mega cringe Kamala call with the Obamas?
No, we haven't played it yet.
I'm saying, should we?
Should we? That's a totally different question.
I think we should do it. Because listen, there are undecided voters that listen to this program. I know you don't like to admit it in polite company, that you listen to conservative talk radio, 1210, that Matt Rooney guy with the flamingo shirt. But you're here, and I get it. They think of things in terms of gender and sexuality. You're Rooney curious, right? You're not sure. You're not fully committed. But some of the stuff I'm saying, kind of rubs you the right way. It makes sense. These people are so fake, so utterly and completely fake. I started out discussing on tonight's program part of the reason why, even with some of these things that J.D. Vance says 3 years ago that maybe some people are arguing were inartfully constructed, there's a reason why so many Trump supporters, and I think a lot of the swing voters in the middle, are willing to discount these things because we'd rather someone be real with us, and part of being real is sometimes you don't say things the best possible way, than to have these professional liars and manipulators like the Obamas, like the Bidens, like Kamala Harris, that every other word out of their mouth is a lie or a manipulation, right? Andrew was talking about family earlier. Real people in the real world, sometimes you say something in a moment of passion, then you say, you know what, I wish I had said that a little bit differently. That's normal. That's healthy to admit that. That's not the left. Hillary Clinton, that's one of the reasons she got her keister handed to her in 2016. It wasn't just the email server. It can't all be blamed on James Comey. Hillary Clinton lost because she is the most artificial android human being to ever run for president in the history of our republic. And Kamala may be an updated version of the same android, right? She's a woman of color. We talked about that earlier. She's got that delightful laugh, that delightful cackle. That if Kamala is cackling at you and you don't see her coming, you're assuming somebody's going to swoop down on a broom and steal your Toto dog, right? It's absolutely terrifying. But I want you, the undecideds out there, to listen to this video and tell me if it makes you more likely to vote for Kamala Harris. I guess I'll give some quick context here, Andrew. This was posted by the Harris campaign because there was these questions about whether or not Barack Obama was going to endorse her. There were some stories out there, I don't know if any of them ever got verified, that Obama wanted to have a more open process because he doesn't think Kamala's electable, and then Joe Biden kind of outmaneuvered him by endorsing her, and that took him by surprise. We may never know the answer to that, at least not years from now, until, the aides write the tell-all books, right? But they needed to do something about this, right, to quell the rumors. So they released this video, which is absolutely staged. It's absolutely staged. And it is so cringy, I'm reluctant to even play it, but I'm gonna do it anyway because you need to hear it. You need to know who these people are. So without further ado, the thoroughly and completely fake call from the Obamas telling Kamala they're with her.
Kamala.
Hello. Hi.
Hey there.
Oh, hi. You're both together. Oh, it's good to hear you both.
I can't have this phone call without saying to my girl Kamala, I am proud of you. This is going to be historic.
We called to say Michelle and I couldn't be prouder to endorse you and to do everything we can to get you through this election and into the Oval Office.
Oh, my goodness. Michelle, Barack, this means so much to me. I am looking forward to doing this with the two of you, Doug and I both, and getting out there, being on the road. But most of all, I just want to tell you the words you have spoken and the friendship that you have given over all these years mean more than I can express. So thank you both. It means so much. And we're going to have some fun with this too, aren't we?
Real people don't talk like this. I played you earlier tonight some of those CNN interviews. There was the woman, the Latina in Georgia, right? Did I do that correctly, Andrew? You're part Hispanic.
Yeah, no, it sounded fine to me.
Yeah, is the most Hispanic person on this program. Latina. You heard from the Latina down in Georgia. You heard from the auto workers up in Michigan. Do you think they're going to be persuaded by any of this? I don't think so. That's why I still have faith in the long term here. That's why I still have faith in the long term. But we got to fight. Fight, fight, fight. As the man himself said, Andrew's fist pumping, 855-839-1210, like a true Jersey boy in there. Over on YouTube, youtube.com/@1210 WPHT. I am Matt Rooney. This is the Matt Rooney Show. When we return, Eric Telford from the the Commonwealth Foundation. You're not going to want to miss this here on 1210 WPHT.
Dan owed an unbelievable amount of money to the IRS.
I got behind on my taxes. It's a horrible feeling.
He was in denial.
And when I get those letters from the IRS, you wanted to act like they didn't exist.
Finally, Dan turned to Optima Tax Relief, the leading tax resolution firm. A-plus rated by the Better Business Bureau, they've resolved over $1 billion for their clients.
Optima got me a settlement with the IRS. These people are really people-friendly. It was every bit of a new lease on life for me.
The fast action and the great results made Dan's head spin.
I felt like I was in a dream, but it's real, and I have paperwork to prove it. They got the job done, and life is good.
For tax help you can trust, call Optima now for a free consultation.
If you're worried about what's going to happen with the IRS, stop worrying. Make the call now.
Call 800-354-2840. 800-354-2840. 800-354-2840.
Optima Tax Relief.
Testimonial from an actual client. Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Pastor Brad Lacey here, First Baptist Church, Conshohocken. Join us Saturdays for the great message and be blessed. 5 a.m. right here on Talk Radio 1210 WPHT.
Hi, I'm Angie Hicks, co-founder of Angie. And one thing I've learned is that you buy a house, but you make it a home. Because with every fix, update, and renovation, it becomes a little more your own. So you need all your jobs done well. For nearly 30 years, Angie has helped millions of homeowners hire skilled pros for the projects that matter. From plumbing to electrical, roof repair to deck upgrades. So leave it to the pros who will get your jobs done well. Hire high-quality certified pros at Angie.com.
As a roofer, I don't have time to fail. Homeowners rely on me, so I rely on Beacon. Beacon's unique network of branches work together to get me what I need when I need it. And with the Beacon Pro Plus app, I've got the brands I depend on, like GAF, right at my fingertips. Now through September 15th, purchase high-quality GAF with Beacon Pro Plus and earn up to $1,500. Go to BECN.com or download the Beacon Pro Plus app today. Beacon, always building.
Hey, Clementon. Yeah! We know your favorite station is Talk Radio 1210 WPHT. WPHT.
Meet Governor Josh Shapiro. He promised to get stuff done, but he's failed at governing. Shapiro was even forced by his own party to veto his campaign promise of scholarships for kids trapped in failing schools. Shapiro promised to cut red tape and reduce taxes, but he hasn't delivered. He made Get Done his slogan, but Shapiro is Pennsylvania's least effective governor in at least 50 years. Josh Shapiro. All talk, no results. Pennsylvania deserves better.
And America probably deserves better too, Andrew. Josh Shapiro, we're talking about it on tonight's Matt Rooney show, viewed as a leading contender to be Kamala Harris's running mate this November. God help us all. Let's talk to the man whose organization is behind that ad that you just heard. He is Senior Vice President of Public Affairs at the Commonwealth Foundation. Previously of Americans for Prosperity, he was the executive director of Right Online, an initiative that he founded and spearheaded himself. Back in 2013, Campaigns and Elections magazine honored him as an advocacy innovator, and we've got him tonight on the Matt Rooney Show. So without further ado, Eric Telford, welcome to 1210 WPHT. Thanks for joining us.
Great to be with you, Matt. Thanks for having me.
So I love the ad, first and foremost. We just played it a second ago. I hope you could hear it, even though you're well familiar with it. It says it all. There's this mythology, not just here in the Delaware Valley, but nationally, that Shapiro is a success story. And thus far as, approval rating, if you just look at it at the superficial level, would seem to back that up. But the story's a lot more complicated, isn't it?
Oh, it certainly is. And no doubt he's a talented politician, but that's very different than the qualities it takes to be successful at governing. And that's where the rhetoric does not match the reality. And I was able to hear the ad. I've heard it a few times. We're going to make sure the public hears it a few times as well, because the truth deserves to be told about Josh Shapiro's record.
And it's up on television in Pennsylvania?
It is. It's airing in Harrisburg, Philadelphia, and Washington, D.C. We've also taken out full-page newspaper ads at the RNC convention last Sunday and the Washington Post and in the Chicago Tribune at the upcoming DNC.
Oh, he must love you.
Haven't gotten our love letter yet, but must be lost in the mail.
Yeah, I'm just telling you right now, I wouldn't expect a Christmas card or holiday card from Josh Shapiro. But look, it is what it is. I think that even though Pennsylvania, it's a great state, obviously, right? It's where we're broadcasting from tonight. It has so much going for it. This state continues to underperform and not achieve its potential because of the failures of Harrisburg. And he's currently the man in charge out there. And it seems as if he wants to link arms with Kamala Harris because he wants a promotion for himself, notwithstanding the fact that the policies that she's advocated are harmful to the country as a whole, but also Pennsylvania, this war, for instance, that she's declared on fracking. We played 2 clips tonight, and there's plenty more out there in the ether of her saying in not so ambiguous terms, I'm going to end fracking. She's now apparently trying to walk that back. How's Josh Shapiro going to explain any of this?
Well, Josh Shapiro is expert at saying one thing and doing another. So I have no doubt he'll find a masterful way to explain it. The question is, what would happen if they actually were to get into office? And the similarity between Josh Shapiro and Kamala Harris is that they're both very far to the left. Kamala Harris is trying to now pretend to be a moderate. That's an area of expertise for Josh Shapiro, who said a lot of moderate things on the campaign trail, but has failed to deliver on really any of the promises that appeal to that bipartisan support since he's gotten into office. He's done nothing but cater to the far left, and I think that's what people need to know about his record. Pennsylvania is the largest swing state in the country. You got to do more than talk the talk. You got to walk the walk, and he's coming up short.
Something that your ad drills down on, and by the way, we're speaking to Eric Telford of the Commonwealth Foundation, folks, who are out with this new ad laying bare the Shapiro record, and it ain't pretty. I love that your ad touches on education. Specifically, he broke his own promise. He vetoed his own campaign promise, is probably the most accurate way to say it, leaving thousands of children in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania behind. And part of the reason, and I want you to explain this part of the ad, Eric, but part of the reason I love this is because education, I think, remains one of the under-addressed areas of campaign 2024. We've talked a lot about education as a nation in recent years, coming out of COVID with learning loss and then everything the left is doing to wokeify our schools. But there are so many kids, including in this city I'm broadcasting from tonight, Philadelphia, who are being left behind by this broken education system that the left and the teachers' unions preside over. So talk to us a little bit more about this aspect of the Shapiro record. I think people need to hear more about it, especially if he finds a way to weasel his way onto the ticket.
Absolutely. And it really is the most egregious betrayal. There are 250,000 kids in Pennsylvania currently trapped in the bottom 15% performing schools. They're not just failing schools, they're also unsafe. And kids aren't learning to read. They're not learning to write. Their future is literally being stolen from them. And Josh Shapiro made a campaign pledge that he would pass lifeline scholarships that would allow school choice for these kids to have a literal lifeline out to an alternative, a chance and a choice and a chance for a brighter future. He ended up having to veto his own campaign promise, not because of the Republicans, but because of his own party that controls the state House. Senate Republicans, the Republicans who control the state Senate, literally made it their top priority in last year's budget. Josh Shapiro struck a deal with them. He could not bring his own party along. He ended up vetoing that provision of the budget. He got outmaneuvered by Kim Ward, the Senate president. A 5-month, almost 6-month budget impasse ensued that really defined his first year in office. This is a guy who said he was going to bring people together and take on the big fights, accomplish big things. He got owned by his own party, and ever since his rhetoric has changed to say, well, the legislature is in charge and it's divided, so what can I do? It is just a total abdication of leadership, and children are the victims here. It's truly awful.
And you're hitting on something very important here, right? As you dig into Josh Shapiro's record, not only is he in many ways as far left as Kamala Harris, which, I mean, you can't pass the laugh test masquerading as a centrist, or a reasonable Democrat or whatever new euphemistic label they want to use for themselves if you're anywhere close to Kamala Harris. She cannot get any further left, and that's saying something. She is a former senator from the state of California. But Josh Shapiro is also probably one of the most nakedly ambitious people we've seen make a stab at national office since probably Bill Clinton. This guy does not try to hide that Pennsylvania is just a stopover for him on the way to a national ticket. And you just illustrated, I think, a stark and disturbing example of his ambition, Eric. He was willing to throw all of these kids under the bus, not because he had a change of heart, but because he didn't want to tick off the teachers' unions ahead of 2024. Tell me if you think I'm wrong.
Oh, there's no doubt he's always been playing the long game. His most generous campaign donors come from out of state. They don't care about Pennsylvania. He cares about his future more than he cares about those 250,000 kids trapped in failing schools, and that's why he betrayed them. He has always had his eye on the future, and that's why we're trying to force him to remember the job that he has right now and the promises that he made.
Well, I think you're doing yeoman's work over at the Commonwealth Foundation. Can you tell us a little bit more about the foundation and where we can find you guys online if we want to learn more, support it, all the things?
Absolutely. Go to commonwealthfoundation.org. You can also check out our information about Shapiro at shapiroreport.com. We're a free market think tank. We advance policies that help every individual flourish, limited government opportunity, less regulation, lower taxes. We believe in a free and open society and one where everyone can thrive and earn their own success.
A free and open society. Wouldn't that be nice? Seems like every day it's slipping a little further away, but we appreciate the work that you, Eric, and the foundation are doing on this front. Eric Telford, everyone, one of the principals over at the Commonwealth Foundation. Thanks for joining us tonight on the Matt Rooney Show. And look, either way, regardless of what he ends up on the ticket, we got to have you back again soon.
I would love to be back. It's been great to be with you, Matt. Thanks.
Thanks, Eric. That's Eric Telford, everyone. You are listening to the Matt Rooney Show, as I just said a moment ago. Got to keep repeating it, right? Because if what we're being told is true, we got new listeners coming into this program all the time. They like us. They really like us, Andrew. I think some of it's you.
Really? You think it's me?
I do. I was actually thinking we need to probably, and you might give me some pushback on this, I think we need to revisit the producer cam a little bit. Because you're not as good looking as I am, but you're not a burn victim. So I think maybe getting you on camera. People have asked me what you look like. I've gotten that question in recent weeks.
We can keep them guessing.
I think show a little leg here, not literally, figuratively here. You know,
sure.
Let them see you.
I understand.
We'll talk about it.
I'll pray about it.
You'll pray on it, right? There you go. All right. Well, it's never going to happen. I don't know what to tell you, folks. I tried. 855-839-1210 is the number. Again, over at YouTube, youtube.com/@1210 WPHT. Quick timeout for some caffeine. Back for more of Hour 3 of the Matt Rooney Show in a moment.
Hi, it's Nick Kale. The first Wednesday of the month, we shine a spotlight on one outstanding local veteran on our Veteran Spotlight in partnership with the Travis Manion Foundation, celebrating their remarkable commitment to community service and their exceptional service in the military. Wednesday, August 7th, we honor Air Force veteran Kathy Christian for her service and contributions to the veteran community. Presented by Window Nation. For all of your window and door needs, visit windownation.com.
Your official home for Penn State football and basketball is Talk Radio 1210 WPHT and the free Odyssey app. Listen to every Nittany Lions game on Talk Radio 1210 WPHT and the free Odyssey app.
I'm just a kid. I'm 6. I'm 9. I'm 4.5. And I've got asthma. You know just how upset I can get when I have an asthma attack.
And I know that you want to do all that you can do to help me. But you might not know
about all the different stuff that can make me have an asthma attack.
or all the simple things you can do to fight my asthma.
You can fight it with a bear.
You can fight it with a duck.
You can fight it with a wrench. Put my teddy bear in the freezer to wipe out dust mites.
Dry off rubber duckies and fix leaks to get rid of mold. 'Cause mold can start my asthma attacks too.
Discover other simple ways to prevent an asthma attack. Visit noattacks.org. A public service message brought to you by the U.S. EPA, the Ad Council, and this station.
Thanks for doing all all you can to help me out. Because I don't want to feel like a fish with no water.
When you haven't found love, it can feel like everyone else has. It's in every movie, every song, and all the PDA. Looking for love sucks. Thankfully, California Psychics can give you the guidance you need to find the one. We guarantee if your reading isn't life-changing, it's free. And new customers receive 20 minutes for just $20. Visit CaliforniaPsychics.com and experience the joy of certainty. California Psychics.
Tired of hearing scary ads about the IRS? Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. We may be able to significantly reduce and even eliminate what you owe to the IRS. Taxpayers should know. Huge savings are now being made available through the Fresh Start program that can drastically reduce the amount you will owe if you qualify. Even if you haven't filed your taxes in years or are facing wage garnishment, liens, levies, or under audit, we can help. We've earned over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau. You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today. To see what savings you may qualify for, visit us online at TRA.com or call us at 800-511-0379. 800-511-0379. Again, that's 800-511-0379. Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
Don't miss the Education Show with Dom Giordano every Sunday morning at 5:30. Find out how you can help your child or grandchild succeed. Sponsored by New Hope Academy. Don't miss the Labor and Energy Show with J-Doc and Krause, brought to you by Advocacy United, this Saturday night at 6. Find out about the important issues that'll affect you. The Labor and Energy Show, Saturday night at 6 on Talk Radio 1210 WPHT.
Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Subscription required. Price varies based on product and subscription plan.
Hey guys, did you know there's a generic form of Viagra that works just the same but is 95% cheaper? And you can get it online at hims.com/joy. Through Hims, you'll get a free medical consultation to determine the ED medication that's best for you. Discreet shipping if prescribed, a 100% online process, and a range of treatment options, including trusted generic alternatives to the name brands, at up to 95% off. ED is personal, and at Hims, so is treating it. Just go to hims.com/joy and get connected to a licensed medical provider online for free, with zero copay, no expensive appointments, and no awkward face-to-face conversations. To start your free online visit, you need to go to this exclusive address, hims.com/joy. That's hims.com/joy for your free online visit. hims.com/joy.
Follow Talk Radio 1210 on Instagram and Facebook at 1210 WPHT.
You heard Eric Telford before the break talking about a free and open society, Andrew, which we're rapidly losing a little bit more every day, every passing minute. A lot of it is big tech's fault. We know this. Let me share one little bit of a spooky development with you, if I may. We're still a long time out from Halloween, but this is creepy.
Halloween again.
I'm not putting out decorations. I'm simply saying.
I'm joking. You got to keep it light on these troubling times.
See, I've made this mistake. I'm a star maker here on the Matt Rooney Show, right? We have these producers, and they go on and they get big promotions and jobs here. And I made the mistake of saying that Andrew does a great job and that we should see more of on the producer cam. And now he's just smacking me around in here.
I made a joke. That's all I did.
Well, it wasn't funny, and I'm hurt.
I apologize. I'm sorry.
I just wanted to hear you say you're sorry. I'm not at all offended.
So you're recording. That's what you were waiting for.
Everything is being recorded in here, right? We're on live. We're on live radio. But listen, this is spooky. So someone pointed this out to me, and I did it myself. Go to Google if you're sitting at your computer, right? And we can have a little group exercise here in the Matt Rooney Show. I'll give you a second. Pull out your phone. Go to Google, and punch in the following: assassination attempt on T, the letter T, right? You can type an R and a U and an M, But watch the search results, because you know that as you type something into a search engine, you get suggested searches. When I typed that in on Google today, the suggested searches I got were assassination attempt on Truman, assassination attempt on Teddy Roosevelt, assassination attempt on the Pope, assassination attempt meaning, assassination attempt movies, assassination attempt on Ford. Nothing about the assassination attempt on Donald John Trump. Now, to use a Hillary Clintonism, it requires the willful suspension of belief that Google isn't being cute here, because the algorithm is supposed to, at least to some degree, take into account how many people are searching for something, right? And clearly that's a very popular search term right now because it just happened. It's a gigantic story. Lots of developments. People want answers. You're telling me that's not in the top 8, 9, 10 of suggestions on Google? It's almost as if out in Silicon Valley, they don't want us reading about the Trump assassination. And you don't have to be wearing a tinfoil hat, right, to wonder why that is. At the very least, what we can say is they have probably made a calculation that they don't think it's good for their team, the blue team, for people to be reading up on this. So they don't want you to. Now, consider this, and feel free over in the comments, youtube.com/@1210WPHT, whether you went ahead and you participated in my little experiment. Tell me what you found, but that's what I saw. This is all juxtaposed against the whitewash of Kamala's record. It's received plenty of media coverage over the course of the past few days. The most infamous example, I think, is over at Axios, where they literally said that she was the immigration czar, right? They literally said she was the immigration czar, and are now on the same website, the same author, the same reporter, I'm doing air quotes, right? If you can't see me because you're not watching, you're just listening, are now saying, oh, this is a right-wing conspiracy. She was never actually the border czar. She was never actually the immigration czar. And the examples online are plentiful. It's absolutely bizarre. It's next-level Orwell stuff. And it's not just Axios, right? Here's just the rundown of some of the headlines. New York Daily News, the Veep and the border. Kamala Harris's role was never border czar. USA Today, Harris was never put in charge of the border or made border czar. Immigration experts said. Whenever you see experts, by the way, in a title, byline, headline, whatever of a story, assume that they are full of that S word that Nancy Mace used that we couldn't play, right? They're full of it, right? That's what they always do. Oh, yeah, there's these experts. Well, who are they? What are their qualifications? What are their mixed motives? Time. Kamala Harris was never Biden's border czar. Here's what she really did. Well, we know what she really did. She did nothing. She helped Joe Biden preside over a full-scale invasion of our country, the consequences of which we are still grappling with today. But I want to give a major hat tip here to the Free Beacon. This is cut numero uno. This is how important this was to me tonight. They put together a montage of all of the times that we have been subjected to border czar spin. Share this clip, and I'll retweet it as well, with a friend who is buying into any of this garbage. Go.
She was put in charge of the border.
Nope.
She was put in charge of reaching out to the South and Central American countries to stem the immigration.
She wasn't the border czar.
She was not actually the border czar.
She is not the border czar.
She was never border czar.
She was not the border czar.
Let's be very clear. There was no border czar.
President Biden put his vice president, Kamala Harris, in charge of one of his administration's growing challenges. She is now the point person on immigration.
Vice President Harris is now the Biden administration's point person
to oversee his administration's efforts to stem the flow of migrants.
Kamala Harris, the point person on immigration.
The point person in the effort to stop the flow of migrants.
And Kamala Harris will lead the response to the border challenge. Kamala Harris to lead the White House efforts to tackle migration challenges at the U.S.-Mexico border.
To take the lead on overseeing all of these efforts at the border.
Putting his Vice President, Kamala Harris, in charge of this.
Her first big portfolio item.
To oversee solutions.
And I have confidence that she's going to do a good job in this role. I think President Biden made a good decision, a wise move.
I mean, what else do you need, right? I mean, have you ever seen such naked, blatant lying in your life? And here's one thing Google hasn't gotten to. They haven't changed the definition of czar yet, right? Over on Google, right? If you look it up, one of the definitions is a person appointed by government to advise on and coordinate policy in a particular area. Isn't that what you just heard?
Yes. From
their own mouths.
Yep.
But now, you and me, Andrew, and everybody out there in 1210 WPHT land, right? We don't have a Zioli army here. I don't know. I mean, like, are you Rooney? I don't know. We got to come up with something that sounds as good on a T-shirt, right?
The Army Reserve.
Right. We're nuts. We're clearly the crazy ones. We're being once again gaslit by these monsters. The monsters that run the modern media, that control the channels of information online. All because they want to stop Donald Trump. And they want to stop Donald Trump because they want to stop me. They want to stop you. That's always been what this is about. Donald Trump has been clear about that from day one. They are going after him, not just because of him. Yeah, they don't like him, right? He annoys them. But they were completely fine with Donald Trump before he decided to throw his hat in the ring and stand up for the rest of us. He had his reality TV show. He didn't need the money, but he made even more money off of that and furthered his brand. They wanted him in movies like Home Alone, giving Macaulay Culkin directions, right? When he got lost at the hotel. They had no problem with the guy. He was part of the club.
Showing up at Yankee Stadium in the owner's box and all that stuff.
Exactly. He was allowed to hang out with the beautiful people. They only developed a distaste for him and his former Playboy lifestyle and his brash commentary, all of it, when he said, you know what? Americans, and particularly hardworking middle-class Americans, are being squeezed and screwed by the Josh Shapiro, Kamala Harris, Phil Murphy, Joe Biden class. Right? All good for Barack Obama and his buddies when they're raking it in with Netflix cash and cashing in on Wall Street while the rest of us suffer and try to figure out how, with a devaluing dollar, we can afford the same amount of groceries that our family needed the month before, with money that's worth less, with products that cost more. This is why they need to change reality. This is why we're getting to this stage of manipulation, because you can't spin this stuff. The border was her screw up. It was hers. And she let this happen. So, since they can't change that fact, and there's no possible way to spin it because it's so egregious, they have to literally get in time machines and go back on the internet and rewrite stories and try to say, oh no, what you just heard with your ears, that's not really what you heard. What you just read, do not trust your eyes. It's sick. It's sick. And the only good news is, again, I think that it's getting so egregious that some people are waking up to it. Listen, if you won't believe me when it comes to Kamala Harris's border record and what her intentions are, will you perhaps trust Pocahontas, a.k.a. Elizabeth Warren? Someone who ever tell you why she ticks me off so much, Andrew? I don't know if we ever had the Elizabeth Warren conversation.
No, do tell.
Because, yes, she's a leftist, and yes, she's annoying and obnoxious and has all the traits. She's a predator, man. And by that, I mean this, that one of the crises facing this country are student loans, and how a generation, now second generation, is going to become indebted beyond their ability to pay for it with useless degrees because of what's happening in colleges. They're being subsidized by the government. Tuition's being inflated. your degree in Eastern handpan music and women's studies is never going to help you pay for it. It's the cycle of debt you got caught in. She made money off that system as a professor. She cashed in. So Elizabeth Warren isn't just wrong about the problem. She's part of the problem. But she probably has the Kamala Harris campaign a little ticked at her because of this admission that she made. I couldn't believe she said the quiet part out loud here. She appeared on CNN, and she said, well, I'll let you hear it yourself. We got this clip ready? Hearing is believing. Listen up.
Recognize, and I know that Kamala Harris knows this is a problem that ultimately has to be solved by Congress. We need the tools in order to have more resources at the border, to have more resources in the states and cities that are supporting migrants, and I believe we need to create a pathway to citizenship. All of that is a part of what we need to do for comprehensive immigration reform. Kamala Harris will work with Congress and get that done.
There you go. From Pocahontas' mouth, man. Mass citizenship. Donald Trump has been very clear, unlike Kamala Harris, about what he's going to do. A vote for Trump-Vance is a vote to end this nightmare. And the beautiful thing about Donald Trump is, love him, hate him, whatever, like Nancy Mace said earlier tonight on our program, you know what he's going to do, right? Because we've already had him for 4 years. If anything, I think it's going to be better because he's learned how to navigate the pitfalls of the swamp better. Kamala Harris isn't being honest, but perhaps the same thing applies. You could look at what Joe Biden's done and what she's done and hasn't done, crimes of commission, omission, and know what nightmare awaits us. While Donald Trump has pledged to have a deportation program to get some of these bad folks out of here, right, who don't belong here. They have criminal records. They didn't come in the right way. He's pledged to do that. Elizabeth Warren is telling you what Harris is all about. She's going to bring in more illegal immigrants. It's going to ramp up. It's going to ramp up. And our border, which is already dissolving, will fully collapse. And this country, come election 2028, will be unrecognizable. Unrecognizable. The choice is yours, folks. I'm just teeing it up for you. 855-839-1210 is the number. Let's take one more break to play a few more ads. We love our sponsors. And then we'll be back to round out tonight's edition of the Matt Rooney Show in a moment. Don't go anywhere.
Picture streams in our community. That's where our kids play and dogs splash. And some of these streams provide the water we drink. But is the water in these streams clean and safe? The truth is, for most local streams, no one knows. That's a problem. One the Isaac Walton League can help you solve with the Clean Water Challenge. For almost 50 years, the Isaac Walton League of America has helped people just like you test the water in local streams, clean up pollution, and protect healthy waters. Today, the Isaac Walton League has an ambitious new goal: engage volunteers across the country to test 100,000 more streams for pollution. You can protect clean water in our community by joining the Clean Water Challenge. To get involved, visit iwla.org. That's iwla.org.
My grades were bad. I would get D's and C's.
I appeared to be doing good at my school life, but if you would see me at home, it would have been a completely different story.
I mean, it was just rough focusing on school when your mother is somebody you have to take care of. It got worse and worse and worse throughout the years.
There are students who need somebody.
They can trust someone, and it could be the first person they've ever trusted in their life.
Communities in Schools is lowering America's dropout rate by helping more than 1.3 million kids every year get whatever they need to succeed in school.
If something was going on at home, we would go just stop by Miss Liberty's office and talk to her.
Communities in Schools vouched for me when everyone else had lost hope.
You can help change the picture of education right here in your community and across the nation. Visit communitiesandschools.org.
I hear people say we can't save every kid, but I think that we can.
The very first thing you taught me was to be fair. No cutting in line. Play by the rules. Play by the rules. Don't pick on the little kids.
It's important.
It's the right thing to do. It helps create the world we want to live in. Well, there's something I need to tell you. Kids aren't the only ones that should be fair. Mommies and daddies should be that way too. Every time you go to the store, you have a chance to be fair. To do the right thing. To make a difference in someone else's life. It's easy. It's not expensive. And it makes a huge difference. Just look for the Fair Trade certified label on products in the grocery store. It means that farmers are getting a fair deal. That their kids get to stay in school. That they can look forward to a brighter future. And we're getting great products that were grown with care. Now that's fair. It's good for our family. It's good for our neighborhood. It's good for the whole world. Buy fair, be fair. Visit befair.org to learn more. I'm glad we had this talk.
Calling on Levittown. Hello there. To follow 1210 WPHT on the free Odyssey app. Download it now.
It's not just the Olympics that they're screwing up. They're destroying Batman, too. If producer Dan Valdez was still here...
Are you serious?
He would be hiding under the desk right now. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I actually sent this to him the other day. Longtime listeners remember our bud Dan. And he was not thrilled by this. So, this is from Variety.com. That's where I saw it. I guess they're rebooting the classic Batman cartoon. I grew up with Batman the Animated Series.
Right, yeah.
That was the show as a millennial that I came home from school and was like ready to watch it, 4 o'clock every day. Okay. Loved it before dinner. Fantastic stuff. Mark Hamill, who hadn't gone off the deep end yet, was the voice actor for the Joker. It did a fantastic job.
Probably the most famous version of the Joker.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, outside of, I guess, maybe, Jack Nicholson in the 1989 movie. Guess what they're doing now? They've recruited Minnie Driver, who is going to voice Oswalda Cobblepot. Andrew's head just exploded. I'm going to have to clean that up now before the morning show starts. Again, Oswald Cobblepot is the real name of the Penguin in the DC Batman universe. Many of you will remember, if you don't know from the comics, Danny DeVito played Oswald Cobblepot, a.k.a. the Penguin, in the, I guess it was, 1990-something?
91 or 92.
91, 92, the Batman that had Michael Keaton.
The second Tim Burton Batman.
And Christopher Walken. He was in that, too. And who else? Michelle Pfeiffer was Catwoman.
Catwoman.
Not bad. Not bad at all. Red-blooded American male. Now they've got Minnie Driver playing Oswalda Cobblepot. This is, according to Variety, a female interpretation of the Penguin. And it's Prime, right? Prime Video. It's going to be restyled as Batman Caped Crusader. So, look, I understand. And I say this as the father of a daughter. Right? I don't know. Do you have any girls?
I do.
Yeah, that's right. You have a girl too. So you get this. Like, I get the need for positive female role models. Ironically, most of the women that the left seems to elevate, even if they're not cat ladies, don't necessarily tend to be the kind of women that I would like to see my daughter take after. But I get it. You want to have positive role models. I have no problem with female superheroes and original female stories. What I don't understand is this. Why do you need to go back into a universe with a well-established, popular, existing character and make it female, especially when it's a villain?
What kind of message are you sending?
Right. Like, hey, young girls of America, we need more of you to be supervillains.
You can be evil. A gangster villain in charge of a villainous organization, too.
Right, exactly.
And have a big pointy nose.
Right, exactly. Like, what is there? And you look at it, I mean...
it's really bad.
It's really bad, right?
I saw the picture.
It looks like a trans penguin. I'll leave it at that.
An empress penguin?
An empress penguin. But, it says something interesting psychologically about this whole movement, right? And we've talked about this before, that it's not about legal equality anymore. It's almost about, hey, listen, we want special rights, or we want to be able to be as bad as our caricature of the patriarchy, but without judgment. It's so warped. It's so wrong. Leave Batman alone. Leave the Olympics alone. Just back off. But we know they won't.
No,
right?
they won't.
So when they're pillorying J.D. Vance in the months to come, this needs to be part of the retort, right? You want to dig up some 3-year-old quote from J.D. Vance while the Democrats are perpetrating all of this, actively destroying our culture on a daily basis? Sometimes who started it matters, folks. Sometimes who started it matters. And the left is declaring war on your culture and your children every damn day. So when you get up tomorrow, Monday morning, if you take nothing else out of this program, keep that one in mind. Time to wrap it up, folks. Thank you, producer Andrew. Thank you to everybody that listened online. Thank you to everybody that listened the old-fashioned way. We will be back again next Sunday, 7 to 10 p.m. Eastern Standard here on 1210 WPHT. But until then, stay safe, stay sane, and keep fighting for this greatest nation in God's creation. It's worth it.
Hi, this is Dom Giordano with a big update on our huge Politics and Pints with Donald Trump Jr. We had to move the date to Thursday,